Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of What If Female Deku Presented as an Omega in Class? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. Class 1A is a class filled with alphas. As in, everyone here is an alpha who has already presented and is openly cocky about it. Uraraka? Alpha. Ida? Alpha. Yaoyorozu? Alpha. Jiru? Alpha. Kaminari? Alpha. Todoroki and Bakugo? Definite alphas. Even Mineta is an alpha. Mineta. Let that sink in for a moment here as a testament to just how alpha this class truly is. All of them have already presented, except for one student. Izuku, the only girl who has not presented as her secondary gender. Bakugo believes she'll be an Omega, Uraraka has faith her friend will be a Beta, Ida thinks she'll be fine no matter what she is, and everyone else is simply waiting for her to be an alpha like they are. After all, everyone in Class 1A is an alpha, and with a powerful quirk like hers, there's no way she could be an Omega. Izuku herself is hoping she will at least be a Beta, because despite Tsuyu's confidence and Mina's assurance, she doesn't think she will be an alpha. Most alphas know they are alphas before they present. It's all in their confidence, their dominance, and their natural leadership skills. Izuku has always lacked all of the above. She's not a strong, outgoing, confident alpha female. She's more of the exact opposite. She's an insecure, work-in-progress strength-wise, shy beta she'd say for herself. She knows whatever she will present as, it will definitely not be an alpha like everyone else claims it will be. Poor All Might, the alpha is already pretty cautious over her too, but she hasn't even told him of her mother dying yet or the fact her dad is still not answering her calls whenever she does try to call him. She can't bring herself to do so, not with the way he's always obsessing over her presenting as an alpha or beta. She only hopes she won't be an Omega. She feels as though if she were one, she'd be letting All Might down in every single way. The poor alpha gave her his quirk. If she was an Omega, it'd be going to waste, wouldn't it? The girl with the long, wavy, dark emerald green hair and big lighter emerald green eyes was not prepared at all for the chaos that would approach her this morning as she entered her class surprisingly early for once. She takes her seat, feeling as though something isn't quite right. There's almost an itch. She cannot describe it, but there's an itch underneath her skin and it's making her feel a little bit nervous. She calms herself down by focusing on her notes for the test today, and it works if only for a little while. As the class alphas all begin to pile in, she feels the itch getting stronger and stronger. She begins to shift slightly in her seat, all of a sudden feeling more nervous than earlier. She hadn't even said hello to anyone yet and she's already feeling the need to run out of the building and leave. Why is this happening? She's never felt nervous around her classmates before. So why now? Why is she feeling so nervous now? Uraraka is the first one to approach her with a happy greeting. Good morning, Deku-chan. You left your hair down today. It looks cute on you like this. Keeping it up in that bun all the time must be annoying after a while, right? I think you'd look cute in shorter hair too. It would give you a fairy princess look. Why does she feel the need to run from Uraraka of all people? This isn't healthy or right. She shouldn't be so afraid to even look her own friend in the eyes. Thank you, Uraraka. I have thought about cutting it, but with my luck, I'd need to straighten it every day so it would look nice. Izuku replies to her friend, but she feels so scared of her right now for a reason she doesn't even understand. What? Don't straighten your pretty waves ever. With long hair, you look like a mermaid, but with short hair, you'd become a fairy. If you straightened your waves, it would ruin the illusion. Uraraka argues to her friend who only shifts in her seat some more. I guess so, but I'm not that pretty really. I'm just plain looking in all honesty. Izuku says quietly while trying to quell the fear inside of her. Don't down-talk yourself like that. If you were an Omega, I'd mate you in a heartbeat because you're so cute. That sentence makes her almost tremble out of fear. Mating? Mating her? People have thought about doing that with her? She's not too happy with this thought as Uraraka's rut pheromones start to kick in, smelling like a candy shop with a heavy note of caramel. Uraraka, Please, your rut, Izuku comments to her quietly. The brunette blinks twice before gasping, "Oh, I'm sorry, Deku. I forgot to take my suppressants for that. It's weird though, I don't usually get ruts this early, oh well. I guess it must be a change in my cycle." Changes in rut cycles can happen with alphas. Sometimes, their hormones fluctuate and this causes the change in their rut cycles. However, all alphas are terrifying to be by in a rut for one reason only: they have absolutely no self-control. Despite popular belief and myth, omegas can control themselves perfectly fine during their heats. It's the alphas who are the ones who will mate with anything they find appealing and mark those who are not their fated mates in the blind lust of their rut. Alphas are the always ones to be most wary around during any mating season because of this reason. Which is part of the reason why she is so nervous about being around an alpha in a rut. The other part is still unbeknownst to her at this point. When Aizawa enters the room, a poor beta teacher teaching a room full of alphas, hardest job on the planet especially when they are nearing their ruts, all are silent but there is one student missing. Todoroki, it seems, is either running late or is out sick for the day. Somehow, this gives Izuku some comfort because though most packs usually consist of betas and omegas, there are rare instances where an all-alpha pack is formed. Class 1A is that rare instance. In a pack comprised of solely alphas, Todoroki Shudo is the head of the pack. As in, on the first day at school, everyone, excluding Izuku, was allowed to duke it out in a fight to see who would be the head of the pack. In a class filled with very powerful alphas, Todoroki Shudo surpassed them all with a bit too much ease and cemented himself as the head of the pack. Everyone else accepted the defeat at first, but Bakugo had been too proud at first to accept this. Needless to say, he was beaten and humiliated beyond repair in front of everyone. It was after this beating and humiliation he begrudgingly accepted Todoroki as head of the pack. No one messes with him or his rule for the fear of the consequences. Izuku never spoke to him. After she saw what he did to Bakugo, she was far too afraid of him. So, his absence in this instance of feeling very, very afraid of her own classmates is a blessing in disguise for her because she'd be bolting it for the door if he were in here. Then it happens as Aizawa is speaking. Her nervousness hits an extreme point and her body begins to feel so hot. It is at this moment Uraraka looks at her with widened, lustful eyes as she screams, "My Omega!" The chaos that erupted next is indescribable. In a room full of alphas, an omega who has just freshly presented and is going into her first heat all at once is basically a wet dream come true. This being said, they are all still alphas and as such, they will fight each other to the death over an unmarked omega. Poor Aizawa is really not paid enough to deal with this sheet. "Hey, calm down you horny alpha brats," he screams at them, but it's too late. Kirishima is already taking on Zero, Uraraka is duking it out with Bakugo. "Dayu FNG round face beach, she's mine." To her, "Never, you Deka hater." Yairozu and Jairu already have a mutual agreement to share any omega they come into contact with, so it's only natural they are teaming up to kill Mineta and Ida, and poor Izuku is left in her desk still, watching all of her friends trying to beat each other senseless until the last one stands. Aizawa is trying to get them all under control, but it's so futile for a beta to do. They already have a hard time taking him seriously because of his secondary gender, but now that they're all trying to kill each other over an omega in heat, it's not looking pretty for him. "Ah shit," he mutters out in frustration as he tries to stop them all from killing each other. And did Uraraka just send Bakugo out the window with her quirk? Brilliant, but evil nonetheless. At least restraining Bakugo will be easier. Ha, take that, Deku hater. "Deku, where are you, my omega?" She croons out for her omega and it makes her sick to see Tokoyami and Mina fighting each other for her Deku in such a close proximity to her. Her poor omega, what if she gets hurt? She will show her how a true alpha protects her mate. "Enemies," she snarls underneath her breath as she allows her inner alpha to take over. "Don't worry, omega, I will protect you." Poor Izuku, stuck in her chair, frozen in shock and horror as they fight over her. Oh crap, even Tsuyu is in the fight too with Hagakure. This has to be some sort of sick, twisted nightmare she will awake from soon. Then there's a pair of hands on the back of her chair. It's only at this moment she realizes 6 of her classmates are all bound up. She is tilted backwards in her chair to meet the eyes of Yaoyorozu and Jairu. Both girls are giving her alpha stances with a no-nonsense look in their eyes. Omega, prepare to be marked and claimed by us. That did not sound like the Jur she knows. They won't be getting out anytime soon, which means they'll get to see us mark you and claim you as our own. After this, no one will ever touch you but us. Yaoyorozu is actually about to give her a panic attack with this. Before the two girls can leave their marks on her, they are restrained by an already stressed-out Aizawa and being pulled to the front of his desk by his capture weapon. As the classroom room descends into further chaos, with those trapped in Yaoyorozu's binds starting to break free and everyone around her going into kill mode, Izuku is about to cry from the stress of it all. This unknowingly makes things worse as they all fight to stop whoever is making her upset. She then feels a tap on her leg and looks down on the floor to see Kaminari, who is surprisingly enough, totally unaffected by what is going on right now. Slide down in your chair and crawl on the floor with me. They're too busy fighting each other to notice what you are doing. Kaminari whispers to her. She does as he says, but for the reasoning of he's the only one acting normal around here. Once they have successfully crawled out of the classroom, which worked shockingly well, Kaminari takes her down the hall and far away enough from the classroom to ask her, "Are you all right?" She nods slowly, her eyes on the ground. "I'm okay, I guess. I'm just scared, really scared, and I have no clue what to do. How am I supposed to handle this? Do I go home? Do I take a pill? What do I do?" Kaminari makes one thing very clear to her. In your state, I wouldn't recommend going home. You're a newly presented Omega in your first heat. It's too dangerous for you to leave the building. However, there is an emergency heat room on the campus I can take you to. You should be able to ride out your heat there. Izuku smiles as tears fall from her eyes. "Oh, Kaminari, thank you. How do you know so much about how to take care of Omegas during their heats?" "My mom is an Omega and I've had to look out for her more than once. Omega heats don't really affect me as much, sad to say," he explains to the green-haired girl who is now cuddling him. "Alpha, I need something to calm me, please." Izuku is an anxious Omega. During a heat, Omegas can either be anxious with a constant need for a strong alpha mate's calming pheromones and cuddles, or they can be the type that can function normally but will need Mstripti if they don't have an alpha mate to satiate their SXL urges. Anxious Omegas aren't so bad, he can concede. At least she'll be somewhat easier to please. He feels himself getting a bit excited over this close contact, but he wills himself to not get turned on so easily because he's saving that for the heat room. "Alright, I'll see what I can do." He gives off calming pheromones as he takes her into his arms bridal style, but apparently it's not enough for her. Kaminari, please, I need more. I need more, a lot more please. All of his blood just went south. "I'll try again, just let me get you close to the heat room, okay?" He tries to bargain with her as he starts his journey to the heat room. Today is not his lucky day though. Oh no, life effing hates him. Before he can move, his feet and legs are encased in ice and he suddenly knows what is happening. "OF dashed," he whispers as he hears those heavy footsteps approaching them. Right in front of his eyes is Todoroki and the alpha doesn't look too pleased with the sight he is greeted with. "I swear, I'm late for only one day and you're already trying to steal an Omega from the head of your pack," he snarls out to him as he approaches the two. "What are you doing with Midoriya?" Kaminari gulps down his fear to respond meekly to the head of his pack. Well, you see, Izuku presented as an Omega today and she's going through her first heat right now. I got her out of the room and I was about to take her to the emergency heat room so she can ride out her heat in peace." "Kaminari, I need more. I can't calm down like this," she cries out to him, causing Kaminari to unleash all the calming pheromone he can. "Look, Todoroki, just help me get her away from everyone else. They are still going crazy fighting over her in there and it's not pretty. She got really. You're not a strong enough alpha for her." "Well, that's an ego killer. Oh, just so you know, I know your intentions were not pure. Emergency heat rooms are always used for mates wanting to have SEC with their Omegas or for alphas wanting to have SEC with random Omegas." Todoroki then orders him with a deep, almost feral tone. "Put her down now, Kaminari. Let me see her." Kaminari would challenge him. if he were not the head of his pack. He saw what he did to Bakugo and no thank you. He does not want to wind up like that. Why, sir, but are you sure she will like this? She always seemed kind of. She'll be fine with me, just hand her over. Todoroki snaps at him as a deep growl leaves his chest. Kaminari hands her over, causing Izuku to whine, but when Todoroki takes her into his arms, he immediately releases a small amount of calming pheromone that is strong enough to actually calm her. She cuddles into his hold, wanting nothing more than to get lost in his scent. Izuku purrs out of contentment, finally calmed down enough from her initial worry to make things easier for herself. Todoroki's inner alpha feels a powerful sense of pride in this purr coming out of her, but the moment is short-lived. Hands off of her, alpha scum. Todoroki clings onto her tighter, his inner alpha ready to strike at the offending alpha standing in front of him. I'm not releasing her, All Might. She's my Omega and I am not letting her go. All Might glares down Todoroki, not willing to give up his young protege to any horny, dirty alpha, even if they are Todoroki. Put her down or else this will be a war. All Might's warning means nothing when Todoroki growls lowly, his stance sharpening and his hold tightening on Izuku. War it is then. All Might has to do a double take because he cannot believe what all he has just heard. Todoroki is accepting his threat of war as a challenge? He surely must be joking. Then, the way he is holding her so close to himself says it all right there. He's being totally serious about this. Most alphas would have cowered in fear or wavered in the slightest bit from seeing All Might challenge them with such a threat. Most would have quit the minute he took a step forward, and yet Todoroki simply growls openly at him instead. What did he get himself into? All he had been doing was going to check on Aizawa because he could sense his mate was in extreme distress, but before he could make it to Class 1A, he smelled an Omega in heat and stumbled upon the sight of Midoriya in the arms of Todoroki and poor Kaminari frozen in ice. Wait, he just released Kaminari now, but why? Get out of here, Kaminari. It's going to get ugly. Todoroki warns him while he uses his left side to melt the ice holding him there. Tell the others back in class Midoriya is taken. She's officially the fated mate of Todoroki Shudo. If they touch her or even think of trying to court her, I will kill them all. Kaminari nods and replies hastily, Yes sir, I'll tell them all right away. The blonde makes a mad dash back to the classroom to inform everyone of this, thus leaving Todoroki alone with Izuku in his arms and All Might there, glaring him down. All Might makes his move to charge in and rip Izuku out of his arms, but then he is being stopped by a wall of ice as tough as a diamond. It doesn't help matters that his legs are now caught in the same ice as well. Let me have her, All Might. She's mine. Comes the voice of Todoroki from behind the wall of ice. I am not cowering down from a war with you. I will mark her, I will claim her, and she will be my mate. If I have to defeat you and humiliate you as an alpha to get her in my life, I will do so. Make things easier on yourself and surrender now. The very thought of the young Omega being marked, claimed, and mated with any dirty alpha horn dog is enough to push him past his limits of disgust. Such a sweet, innocent, pure-hearted girl like Izuku being with any alpha horn dog is enough to make him feel physically ill. No, she won't be marked, mated, or claimed by anyone today, tomorrow, or ever. She will be his successor, an Omega successor without any alpha to tie her down with their dirty, dirty alpha ways. All Might's resolve alone causes him to punch the ice wall, damage to his body be demmed, because he will not allow Todoroki or anyone else to ever have Izuku. He grabs her waist and Todoroki's eyes darken dangerously as he says, Are you really sure you want to go through with this? I will kill you for trying to keep me away from my fated mate. I don't care. You are a dirty alpha horn dog who only wants her now because she's in heat. She's most likely not your mate. You're just an alpha being blinded by your rut and nothing more. She deserves better than that, better than you, better than anyone in this school. I refuse to let someone so kind, innocent, and pure-hearted be with the likes of anyone in this building, especially you. All Might grits out through his teeth because though his punch was strong enough to leave a decent-sized hole through the ice wall to grab Izuku and pull her to his side with ease, it wasn't enough to free his legs completely. Todoroki snarls at him lowly, his eyes narrowing now as he tries to pull her away from him. You are not the one who decides who her fated mate is. I knew she was my fated mate the moment I entered the building and smelled her scent. If you don't release her now, I will encase your entire body in ice and take her with me. What the F dash? Halfie, you actually claimed her as yours? All Might is saved by a disgruntled alpha. Todoroki turns to face Bakugo with a calmer but deadly nonetheless gaze. She is my fated mate, Bakugo. Unless if you want me to kill you, I suggest you back down now or else you will face the same death All Might will receive should you ever lay a finger on her. Bakugo looks over to see All Might trapped in the ice. He tries to not let his own wavering show, but it does. If an alpha as powerful as All Might could be restrained by his ice and make only a decent-sized hole in the ice wall, then it's safe to say Todoroki isn't playing around here. All Might snarls at Bakugo, knowing all too well what Izuku said he is like to her, a nasty bully who attacked her with his quirk and told her to go kill herself. Such a crude, mean alpha isn't deserving of her at all. He cannot believe he is even thinking it, but he's more okay with Todoroki being her alpha as opposed to Bakugo. Bakugo would only abuse her and cheat on her. At least Todoroki would not do such things because he's been raised better than that. Don't you even think of trying anything with her. Young Midoriya told me all about how badly you treated her after your quirk manifested. Seeing Bakugo looking worried made All Might feel all the more confident in his plan. Yes, you were cruel to her, constantly bullying her, using your quirk to harm her, punching her, pushing her down on the floors and against the walls. You even told her to go kill herself. She saved you from the sludge monster and even then you couldn't thank her. Even now, you still treat her like garbage beneath your feet if what we saw at the first hero training exercise means anything. Who tries to burn an Omega alive like that? You are not worthy of her, you are nothing more than a low level. The ice leaves him instantly to cover half of Bakugo's body instead. Todoroki asks Izuku calmly, his eyes never leaving Bakugo as he does so, is all of what he said just now true? Izuku nods slowly, responding to him in a soft voice. Weiss, my alpha. It's all true. Kakin has never been nice to me. Being a hothead is just who he is. I won't let any of what he did to you in the past go by unpunished. He will learn to leave you alone and to treat you with respect. No one treats my mate like garbage and gets away with it. He had been so focused on punishing Bakugo, he hadn't noticed his grip had loosened on Izuku. He didn't even notice when All Might had removed her from his arms and ran off with her. No, he was too busy making Bakugo suffer as diamond hard ice started to encase his entire body slowly and painfully, giving him severe frostbite and pushing him into hypothermia. Had Aizawa not stopped him in time, Bakugo would have died in the halls of UA. All Might, meanwhile, had taken Izuku into the emergency heat room on campus. He could tell the poor Omega was anxious and needed calming pheromones, but if he used his on her they wouldn't work. She needed calming pheromones from a strong alpha who happened to be her mate in order to calm down. His would only stress her out more. The emergency heat room is accessible only with a special code on a lockpad, and once inside there is a king-size bed, plenty of blankets and clothes to make a nest, plenty of food and drinks, and a personal bathroom suite. Every public and private institution by law is required to have an emergency heat room for purposes such as this, UA being no different. Most Omega heats can last anywhere from 3 days to a week. He has no clue how long her heat will be because this is her first one. He only hopes she has a freakishly short heat for her own sake. She's really freaking out at the moment, whimpering and crying as she sits on the bed in a fetal position. I am so sorry, All Might. I didn't mean to be an O-Omega. I bet you must be so disappointed in me. Young Midoriya, I am not disappointed in you. It isn't your dynamic that makes you strong or weak, it's your resolve and your skill. So long as you have the heart of a hero, you are a worthy successor to my power. All Might reassures her gently. She seems to calm down somewhat, but then she brings up the issue at the forefront of her mind. Was almost marked by Yaoyorozu and Jiru today. All of my classmates know I am an Omega now. What will I do, All Might? They're going to try to mark me at every chance they get, and I'm really scared of that. At least Kaminari and Todoroki were nice to me. All Might cringes to this because, no, they weren't. They were more conniving and sneaky than the rest of the class were. Don't worry, Midoriya, I will handle it for you. You will be able to resume your classes as normal, without any fears of alpha harassment. I will be sure to get them in line over this. He reassures the kid who smiles shallowly at him. Oh, and Recovery Girl will be here soon to explain what your first heat will be like and what to expect. She will answer all of your questions and concerns, okay? Izuku nods, whimpering as she replies, "Thank you, All Might." "You're welcome, Midoriya." He exits the emergency heat room to go back to the classroom where the other students are at. He's set off at them and ready to give them a piece of his mind, but then the unthinkable happens. He senses Aizawa is in greater distress than before. He rushes over there at his fullest speed, unable to keep himself calm and rational because all he can think is if one of those alpha BSRs tried to harm him. He knows he should have more confidence in Aizawa's ability to handle a class full of alphas, but as it stands he is extremely cautious about it. Aizawa is a beta. A lot of alphas, even if they are aspiring heroes, don't take them seriously. Usually in most classes in UA there are enough betas to balance out the alphas in the room, but never in UA's history was there a class filled with alphas only. In fact, UA never had an omega in their classes until now. Looks like Izuku will be making UA history, then. It's not that omegas can't be heroes, it's just most of them choose not to be heroes because of the way villains act towards omegas. It is a well-known fact villains RPE omegas to death if they are captured. As such, many omegas are leery of any work that would require them to do anything with villains. Add on to the fact some villains have quirks that can trigger an omega's heat, which weakens them badly in battle, and you wind up with generations of omegas who simply refuse to be heroes. Regardless, he is proud of Izuku for being the first omega hero and for being the first omega student in UA's history. Right now, his pride is thrown aside as he sees the door to Class 1A is frozen shut. A wave of fear courses through him while he wonders if Aizawa is okay, but then the door opens slowly with a loud creaking sound as he sees Aizawa standing there, hands and feet bound in cuffs made of ice. Aizawa glares him down upon first sight, his next words spoken shakily, yet the anger is all the more present there. "All Might, what the hell did you do?" "Nope, that's not fear." Aizawa is set off. "How are the other students?" All Might asks him instead, hoping to avoid the conversation altogether. "They are frozen in ice. Todoroki went nuts and tried to kill them all for going after his mate." "Where the hell is Izuku?" Aizawa nearly screams at him, causing All Might to wince. "She's in a safe spot, that's all I can say for now. Can I speak to young Todoroki, please?" All Might requests of him in an even tone, amazed at just how far Todoroki is going over this. Aizawa is shoved aside as Todoroki faces All Might, his voice even as he greets him. "Hello, All Might, as you can see, I have captured your mate and subdued my pack. Now, where is Midoriya?" "She's in a safe spot, I cannot tell you where she is located for her own safety." "Oh, so you don't want to see your mate again?" All Might is getting ready to just punch the door out already, but then Todoroki sighs. "I will give him back to you if you just tell me where she is at. I won't mark her, I won't claim her, and I won't mate her for now. I will take things slow and treat this properly. I will court her for a time period of 2 months before marking and claiming her, and I will even ask you permission to do so. Just tell me where she is at." All Might is about to refuse, but then backup arrives in time. Midnight arrives and uses her quirk on the hostile alpha boy as well as everyone else in the class. All Might sighs in relief but then asks her, "Who called you over?" She sighs as she tells him, "It was Aizawa." After this Kaminari had told the rest of the class what the head alpha said about Midoriya, they all stopped fighting and took their seats out of fear. "He originally called me up to deal with him, but when I came over here, I saw the ice on the door and knew what I needed to do. I hope no one is seriously hurt." "Let's hope not." All Might agrees with a grim look on his face. "Maybe we should call up NG to melt all of this ice. We need to get them out of it immediately." Midnight agrees to this, her eyes showing concern as she asks him, "Did he really accept your challenge of war over this omega?" All Might nods, explaining it to her as, "He accepted it, but I didn't think he would go this far, but it's nothing to worry about Midnight. I can handle him. Somehow, Midnight doubts this, but she won't get involved. Any war between two alphas over an omega is going to get extremely ugly, and it looks like today is only the beginning. Enji could not melt his son's ice. Despite using his strongest flames, the hero could not even make the ice sweat. They had to awaken Todoroki and make him melt the ice. All Might was not around when Todoroki did awaken and followed his father's orders with a strong sense of unwillingness. Enji could not believe his son's ice was so powerful, but he is impressed. To know All Might could not break through the ice made him smile in pure pride. His son, his perfect Shudo, is going to surpass All Might long before he even gets a hero license. Though, he is wondering why this happened. All Might and Midnight did not say a word of it to him when he did arrive. Shudo, what happened here today? Why did you freeze your entire class in ice? He asks his son, his perfect son, the one who has earned his utmost pride. Todoroki exhales calmly as he begins his tale. I arrived late to school because of our training session. When I entered the building, I smelled a scent so sweet it had my inner alpha crying out in joy. I knew from the scent alone it was my fated mate, so I followed the scent to find Kaminari holding Midoriya, who is my omega. When I was about to take her away from here, All Might came in and tried to take her from me. He threatened me with war if I didn't let her go, so I accepted the challenge. Enji is stunned, but he presses on regardless. Okay, so I know why your ice was so strong, but why did you freeze your entire class and hold Aizawa captive? Shudo shrugs in response to his father, speaking of the situation casually. I froze them because they all tried to mark my omega. If they hadn't done so, I wouldn't have done it. As for Aizawa, I only took him captive because it was the only way I could think of to get All Might to tell me where he had taken my omega. Enji, though slightly terrified of him, is proud of his son regardless. This being said, he does nothing to discourage him. Shudo, she's your mate, correct? Shudo nods, telling him, yes, I know she is for fact. Then keep fighting this war and don't back down until you win. Today is only the beginning. Your ice is more powerful than All Might's fist. You can and will win this war. You are a Todoroki, and alphas in our family do not quit no matter what. Got it. Shudo agrees to this with a small nod. I intend to fight him every step of the way. Trust me, I will win this war, and All Might will regret ever trying to keep me away from my mate. As Class 1A was brought in to see Recovery Girl, Enji was left to speak to All Might in Principal Nedzu's office about the whole situation at hand. Needless to say, Enji is curious as to why All Might would refuse a fated pair from being together. For a man who is called the symbol of peace and justice, he would think he would not keep a fated pair apart. Mind telling me why this whole chaos happened, All Might? Nedzu asks with a small sigh, because honestly, this is annoying. All Might answers with a calm. Midoriya presented as an omega today and had her first heat all at once. Young Todoroki tried to say she's his mate, but he's just an alpha in a rut being clouded by lust. I did what I had to do to protect her from being mated off to a random alpha horn dog. Enji feels offended by this comment, the tone in All Might's voice making him think the worst. Pray tell, why do you think my Shudo is just an alpha in a rut clouded by lust? No. Just answer me as to why you think my son is a random alpha horn dog. Do you think he's not good enough for this omega girl? All Might exhales to calm himself, but his answer is venomous nonetheless. Your Shudo only gained interest in her after she presented as an omega. He most likely didn't even know she existed until now. If he knew her name, it was probably by pure dumb luck or overhearing others call her it. Your son is not immune to dirty, perverted thoughts about omegas. We all have been single, teen alphas before, we know. What goes through the minds of alphas at the sight of an omega? He's just as much of a dirty, alpha horn dog as any of the others here. Enji's eyes narrowed at him in silent rage. You think my son is just like every other perverted alpha here looking at omega pawn? How dare you? My son is raised to a higher standard than the other alpha whores here in this building. He didn't defeat all the other alphas in his class to become head of his pack for nothing. All Might sighs deeply. Aizawa really should not have let that happen. In society now, alphas are no longer allowed to duke it out for dominance. Nowadays, if an alpha wants to establish themselves as head of a pack, it's through a show of dominance through hostile pheromones. Whichever one has the strongest pheromone is the one who is the head of the pack. However, given the fact betas, though treated more equally than omegas, are seen as weak and cowardly, most alphas don't respect them. This means Aizawa allowed the kids to duke it out in a full-out battle for dominance in order to get some shred of respect from them. Total battles for dominance are not the best way to go about things because it gives the head alpha total control over the pack and leads to the head alpha resorting to extreme measures to maintain order, much like what was seen in the case with Todoroki freezing the class half to death. It also leads to parents and families of the head alpha being overtly proud of them, such as the case with Enji right now. He may be the head of the pack, but it doesn't mean he's her mate or that he is good enough for her. It also doesn't mean he's not immune to overtly SXL thoughts of such a sweet, innocent, pure-hearted Omega like young Midoriya is. I'm sorry, Enji, but she deserves better than him. The room begins to increase in temperature, with Nezu feeling the tension thick in the air. The poor principal doesn't even get a word in when Enji's already glowering at him with angered eyes. My son's instincts are the sharpest of the bunch. This girl is his Omega, and should you keep trying to keep them apart, this war will continue on and you will face crushing, humiliating defeat at the hands of a Todoroki. Nezu clears his throat at this moment to say as calmly as he can muster, All Might, perhaps you should allow Todoroki to be with Midoriya, for the safety of everyone in the building. If what I saw on the security camera footage in the halls is anything to go off of, this war is dangerous and futile not only on your end but the schools as a whole. All Might glares down Nezu, his resolve not wavering for 1 second as he rejects this offer with a bold, hell no. Midoriya is not being marked, claimed, or mated by anyone, especially Todoroki. She's a good Omega girl who deserves only the best of the best, and I won't let any dirty alpha wear taint her. This war is on and it's just beginning. I'm not losing to one of my students, Nezu. I refuse to. Nezu can only groan mentally when he says to him, All right, your war may continue on, but please keep it off of school grounds. I can keep it off of school grounds, but I cannot say the same about Todoroki. All Might replies with a bit of disgust in his tone that makes Enji snap at him. My Shudo is capable of being civil. He's a Todoroki, not some common alpha filth like the rest of the lesser-thans in his pack. Okay, so the war will commence off of school grounds. Just know that if you do bring it back on here, both yourself and Shudo will be punished, All Might. I understand, sir. I can only hope the rabid horn dog understands that as well. Enji takes a strike at All Might and the fight between them begins, leaving Nezu to call in some backup before it gets too messy. As for Izuku, she is still in the emergency heat room and waiting for Recovery Girl to come over to explain what is happening to her. She knows she is an Omega, but why did she get a heat now? What made her present today, of all days? She's only happy she didn't present as an Omega when she was a Quirkless. That thought alone makes her shudder as she knows had it happened to her in middle school, Bakugo would have been killing everyone and the cops would have been called to take her into a government heat center. There, she would have been given away to the strongest aspiring hero her age, which would have been Todoroki. Quirkless Omegas are always taken in by the government to get them mated off to heroes so they won't be captured by villains or abused by regular quirked people. It's more for protection than anything else, and though she would have been given to Todoroki regardless, she's still glad she didn't present as an Omega back when she was quirkless. She feels a strong sense of anxiety take over her, wanting nothing more than to be surrounded by the strong alpha scent of Todoroki as she builds her nest, which at this point, is nothing more than random blankets stacked on top of each other and parts of her uniform that reek of Todoroki's scent. She doesn't know how long it's been, but when the door opens and Recovery Girl is entering the room, she feels some form of relief. Why does she have a rather large stuffed bunny with her? Hello, Midoriya, how are you feeling? She asks her as the door closes behind her. Izuku answers as honestly as she can at this point, not too good. I constantly feel so nervous and panicky. I have no idea why I do either, and I'm really scared of what's happening to me too. I have no idea why I had to present today, why I had to have my first heat today, or why I am an Omega even. It's just all so much to take in on one day. Recovery girl looks at her in a bit of sympathy, her eyes soft when speaking. No one can control what secondary gender they will be. It's all a case of genetics there, Midoriya, and there's no way to predict how that will occur. Everyone will eventually present. It's all matter of genetics and hormones kicking in. As for the heat, that's normal to happen for freshly presented omegas. It's nothing abnormal or to be scared of. After your first heat, it becomes easier to handle and it will happen only once a month. Ah yes, poor Izuku is definitely the textbook case of anxious omega. She then begins the talk on omegas and their biology. Midoriya, as an omega, you will get heats and during these time PRDS it is advised you either be in a safe place to ride them out, such as this emergency heat room, or any other scent blocking room. There is a possibility you are either fertile or infertile, in which case the test for such a thing will be taken immediately after your heat is finished. If you are infertile, you will not need to go on birth control, but if you are, I'll get you on some right away. Recovery girl then hands her over the stuffed bunny, a smile there on her face when saying to her, you are an anxious omega, which is okay. It just means you need a strong alpha mate to comfort you during these stressful heat PRDS. Once you find your fated mate, your heats will be a breeze for you. A nice alpha boy from your class asked me to give this to you. He told me to tell you he's sorry for the way everyone in class acted today and he will ensure no one will ever act in such a way towards you ever again while you are here. She takes the bunny and is instantly comforted by the strong scent of Todoroki. His calming pheromone is all over this. She doesn't care. In the midst of her heat, this is all she needs to get herself calmed down just enough to reply to Recovery Girl. Tell him thank you for me, I really needed it. Thank you for coming here, Recovery Girl. How long will my heat last? There's no way to tell. It can be anywhere from 3 days to a week. We will just have to wait and see. How will I know when it's done? Recovery Girl looks at the girl who is slowly calming down the more she buries herself in the bunny and smiles at the sight. This alpha is either her fated mate or someone with a strong enough scent to calm her. You will know when your anxiety goes away or lessens and the slick stops going down your legs. Yeah, she replies quietly, thank you. It's not a problem for me, my dear. Just try to relax and ride it out, okay? I'll try. Recovery Girl leaves the room and heads on back to her office, not knowing the hell she left the students of Class 1A alone with the whole time she was with Izuku. When she was gone with Izuku, All Might had taken it upon himself to lecture the students about how to behave around Izuku. This meaning he entered the room by barging down the door and glaring them all down as though they were villains as he spoke in a serious tone. Listen up, you dirty alpha whores. None of you are to touch, court, or even have a wet dream about Midoriya. There are security cameras all around this school, so I will always be watching you and your every move. If you step out of line, I will be the one to punish you and put you in your spot. If you thought young Todoroki was terrifying, just wait until you get my inner alpha set off in the same manner and intensity as his. To better drive his point home, he picks up a piece of solid wood and punches it, reducing it to splinters. This piece of wood will be used should any of you here step out of line around Midoriya. Do I make myself clear? The class of terrified alphas all gulps down their terror at the sight as All Might's hostile pheromones overload the room. Yes, sir. Good. Now, have a nice day, students, and just remember this talk for the rest of your time here at UA. I will always be watching and monitoring you around the poor Omega girl unfortunate enough to be stuck with you filthy whores. He feels he got the message across well enough. Now, to devise a plan to get even with Todoroki for capturing his mate and putting him in ice shackles. At his home with Aizawa, All Might is in his bed, in his weak form, and already devising plans to get even with Todoroki for what he did to Aizawa today. No one, and he means no one, gets to trap his mate in ice shackles, hold him hostage and get away with it. He may not be able to do anything to him in the school, but he will think of something he can do outside of the school to get his vengeance. As he is mulling this over in his mind, Aizawa enters the bed, frustrated and still pretty set off over what happened today. You really cannot just let the kids be together? Todoroki went crazy today in class. You're lucky he didn't get anyone killed. Honestly, Yagi, why are you keeping up this war with him? I cannot let them be together because Midoriya's too young to be mated off like that. She still has so much growing to do and there's so much out there she hasn't seen yet. I want her to make that decision when she's sure of what she wants and needs, not when she's still just a kid figuring shit out for herself. All Might continues on to say, so long as Todoroki does not respect this wish, the war will commence. Aizawa can concede the reasoning itself makes perfectly logical sense, but he has some reservations over it. Okay, I get it, you want her to get more used to being an Omega before letting her mate. I can understand that, being freshly presented as a secondary gender is a confusing and emotionally tricky time for anyone, especially Omegas. They're still learning what they need versus what their carnal desires want, and mating at her age isn't advisable because of it. All Might is relieved to hear his mate taking his side, but then, this being said, Yagi, if they really are fated mates, you cannot keep them apart for long. That and he's a Todoroki, Enji's kid to be exact. Don't you remember how far he went to get Fubuki's parents to accept him? All Might remembers because it's hard to forget the rumors of almost burning your future in-laws alive to a near crisp when they tried to reject the mating between yourself and your Omega. Todoroki won't be as bad as Enji. I highly doubt Enji would even encourage such behavior. All Might replies more to reassure himself than anything else at this point. Aizawa glares him down and makes it clear to him, Enji would encourage such behavior because he hates your guts, remember? This war will not end until you cave and my only advice to you right now is to cave before he tries to either burn you alive or freeze you to death. All Might rolls his bright sky blue eyes and rejects this offer with his own bravely spoken, I will not cave now, not when the war has just begun. I am the top hero, Aizawa. I have defeated many volatile villains and foes all far more terrifying than Todoroki. I defeated the worst of the worst back then, I can win this war now. Aizawa tries, he tries his med best, to ignore this cockiness he's seeing, but he can't. All Might is too cocky about this. He has a bad feeling about this whole war and he makes his sentiment on it very clear to him. I don't want this war to go on. Give in to Todoroki and allow him to court Midoriya. She'll be able to decide if she likes him or not. I know she can decide that for herself, but Aizawa, I want her to wait. She's freshly presented and I don't want him to take advantage of her in her more vulnerable state when she hasn't had the time to adjust to being an Omega mentally or emotionally. All Might is pretty adamant about this and makes his own reasoning pretty clear on it. I don't want any alphas coming up to her, using their pheromones on her to stuck her inner Omega into a mating that won't be good for her. Freshly presented Omegas are the most vulnerable to this that I don't want her to get hurt. All Might's concern is not misplaced. Freshly presented Omegas like Izuku are far more vulnerable to alphas taking advantage of them, since they are not used to their own secondary gender just yet. Their inner Omega will almost always submit and want to mate with any alpha who seems strong enough. There have been cases of alphas using their pheromones to trick freshly presented Omegas into mating with them, even though they are not fated, all for the sake of having a mate during their rut. All Might knew too many alphas in his own time who did things like this just to sleep with freshly presented Omegas and not have to mate with them. It disgusts him to know this could happen to Izuku if she's alone with the wrong alpha. He wouldn't ever wish for her to go through the motions of being taken advantage of and used by an alpha wanting someone to F-. Aizawa knows this is All Might's main concern, and he does concede it is indeed valid and worth noting. However, he's not ready for a war with the spawn of Enji Todoroki. He then tells him with a small sigh, I get where you're coming from, but if they are fated, you won't be able to stop it from happening. I don't want to deal with an angry alpha trying to kill you for trying to keep him away from his mate. End the war now and let's handle this diplomatically. Unfortunately, this all falls on deaf ears. Nope, not happening. Todoroki accepted my threat of a war, and if it's a war he wants, it's a war he will get. Let's see what all he can even do outside of school. I bet it won't amount to anything much. Aizawa doesn't have All Might's confidence. After what he saw today, he knows Todoroki is not one to be messed with. He knows this war will not end until Todoroki forces All Might into doing as he pleases. Don't say I didn't warn you when you do fail. I won't need to because I will win. Aizawa decides to stop this debate now while he can get some shut-eye in. He doesn't need another detractor from his sleep, after all. Izuku's heat, unfortunately, lasts a week. During this time, Todoroki has Recovery Girl give her copies of his notes from class and some other things from him. These other things being his school uniform shirt, his pajama top, a throw blanket he uses every now and then, one of his pillows, and even a white button-down shirt he only wears with his nicest suit. These items from him get added onto her nest, and she even cuddles with them because they are so thickly entrenched with his scent. She loves his scent, his strong alpha scent of fresh snow and burnt-scented candle. She may or may not have, she did. A heat, even for an anxious Omega, is still a time of SXL desires running high. She winds up touching herself and thinking about Todoroki the whole while. While on her heat, it doesn't bother her. It's only after the heat is done that she feels so disgusted with herself. She sexualized the head alpha of her pack. Especially after he had been nothing but caring, kind, and considerate of her. She doesn't think she can look him in the eye now that those lewd images and fantasies of Todoroki are ingrained into her conscious. Especially the one of Todoroki and her, in his bed. Oh dear she's disgusting. Here he is, being so considerate of her and nice, and she's sexualizing him like some object. It's something she cannot stop berating herself for. She's really not sure she can meet his eyes after all the time she's gotten off to his scent and his clothes. Oh no, should she wash them? Should she get her scent off of them? Does he want them back? Of course he would. These are his personal belongings after all. Crap, she's screwed. She's screwed. Recovery Girl enters the emergency heat room with a loud, "Whoa there. Calm down, Midoriya. You're starting to release way too much distress pheromones. Here, take this and calm down." She takes the newest object, a white t-shirt, and the scent from the alpha is enough to help calm her down. At least, it is until she asks Recovery Girl, "Whose shirt is this?" "Todoroki's shirt." "Why do you ask?" Recovery Girl says to her, but then Izuku is already starting to get nervous again. What do I do with all of the clothes, blankets, and pillows he's given me? Do I wash them? I mean, he probably wouldn't like my scent on them and he most likely wants them back, but how do I give them back to him? Do I just go up to him and say, "Here are your things back," or do I? Midoriya, calm down. You're muttering again and releasing distress pheromones all at once. She takes another shaky inhale of the white t-shirt and calms down enough to ask her, "Recovery Girl, should I wash all of Todoroki's shirts, the blanket, and the pillow he gave me? I don't think he'd like my scent all over his things." The school nurse simply gives her a knowing glance with a smirk on her lips. "Trust me, he wouldn't like that. I think this boy likes you quite a bit. He came over every day of your heat, asking how you were doing, if you were fine, if you were feeling safe and secure. He even asked if you were safe and secure every time he saw me. He was constantly giving me things to give to you and always wondering about your health status. He's such a nice, thoughtful young alpha, great mate material, don't you think?" Izuku almost blanches to this because Todoroki would not want her as a mate if he knew of the things she thought about him doing to her when she was on her heat. Especially if he knew about the way she had masturbated to his scent on his personal belongings. How she didn't get her slick on them, she'll never know, but either way she's grateful it didn't happen. She clears her throat to this, a blush on her face and her eyes not meeting Recovery Girl's. He's a nice guy, to do all of that for me. He would be a great mate to have, but he's Todoroki. No way would a guy like him go for a girl like me. I'm too plain and nerdy for him. He can do better." Recovery Girl doesn't take this answer she's heard all too well if the light, resounding slap across the face means anything. "Midoriya, you listen to me right. Now, you are a cute girl, possibly the cutest one I've ever seen, and being nerdy is nothing bad. It just means you're more interesting than the average person. This boy likes you, and if you talk like that around him, it won't be pretty. Now, get his things together and go home. School has just ended and he should be here still. Give him your thanks before he leaves." Izuku nods, replying to Recovery Girl with a small voice. "Okay, I will. Goodbye, Recovery Girl, and thank you for everything." "Goodbye, Midoriya, it was no problem to help you out. Arrive early tomorrow morning, We will do the FRTLTY test on you then. Izuku agrees to this sheepishly. I'll remember that. She then heads out the door, hoping to make it to Todoroki in time before he leaves. When she arrives outside, she is confused at first, but it quickly turns into disappointment as she realizes he is not here. Oh well, she sighs as she begins to head on home. Midoriya? She had barely gotten away from the school when she heard his voice. Ah, Todoroki, hi. She greets him in a slightly awkward manner, trying to hide her nervousness because, oh crap, the lewd thoughts are coming back. He gets out of the nice car to approach her with a concerned gaze. Are you okay? How did your heat go? Were you sick, hungry, or sore? She writes off all of his concerns with a simply spoken, oh no, I wasn't sick, sore, or hungry. I was really scared and nervous and panicky at first, but it got better. I'm fine now. Thank you for asking. He seems almost relieved to hear this. But she then remembers why she had wanted to see him. Oh, before I forget, here are your clothes and belongings back. I was going to wash them to get my scent off of them, but Recovery Girl told me you wouldn't like that. He has to remember to thank her profusely for this. He would be devastated if her scent had been washed out of his clothes and belongings. She was correct. I like your scent, it's sweet without being too sweet and yet it's soothing all at once. He then asks her something that's been on his mind. Does my scent calm you? She feels panicky about the question because, well, her mind is flashing back to her heat and all the lewd thoughts she had of him. She then smells his calming pheromones and instantly calms down. Why, it does. Your scent kept me calm throughout my entire heat. She goes on to tell him, thank you for the bunny, I really liked it a lot, and for all the things you gave me and for the notes for class. It was really nice and sweet of you to do those things for me. You're welcome, Midoriya. I enjoy doing nice things for you. She feels a sharp pounding in her chest, her inner Omega now shrieking at her to let the Alpha mate her, and then she remembers. I should get home. My dad doesn't know I'm an Omega yet and I still need to tell him. Thank you for everything, Todoroki, she replies with a small smile. Todoroki takes her wrist and asks her gently, do you want a ride home? I can take you there if you want. She blinks twice before turning down the offer with a polite, oh, no thank you. I couldn't impose on you like that after all you've done for me. It'd be wrong of me to do to you. You're a freshly presented Omega who just got off of her first heat cycle. If I can smell your heat on you still, imagine the other alphas and betas around you in public. It's too dangerous for you to go out alone, especially since you'll still be too weakened to use your quirk at its full power. Let me take you home for your own safety. With the way he worded it all so bluntly, she didn't know she still reeked of her heat. She finds herself agreeing to this. All right, you can take me home, but only if it's no trouble or hassle to you at all. It isn't, there's no need to worry, he reassures her as he opens the car door for her. She has her eyes on the road the whole time so the driver won't get lost, but unbeknownst to her, Todoroki is shamelessly holding his throw blanket and practically burying himself in it because it is just so enriched with her scent. When the car comes to a stop, Todoroki has to do a double take because she lives in such a rough area. It's filled with alphas too, if the scent he's smelling is an indicator of anything. Midoriya, do you want me to walk you to your door? He asks her out of pure concern because he does not feel comfortable leaving her here, alone, freshly presented and fresh off of a heat. She shakes her head, her eyes shining with a bit of confusion there. No thank you, I'll be fine, Todoroki. Thank you for the ride though. He's not comfortable with this. He's not okay with this. He wants her home, with him, away from this rough and dangerous place. If her father doesn't move her out of here after learning of her status, then he will do so himself. She shouldn't be left here. Who the hell would leave someone as small and adorable like her here, in this cesspool of filth? I'm walking you to your door. No matter how hard she tries to reject him, Todoroki winds up walking her to her apartment door, still not feeling okay with leaving her here, alone. It is only because of her insistence that she will be fine that he does leave her there. He had tried to calm himself with the idea of her parents being home. He didn't know the real truth of the empty apartment or the phone call that is now taking place between a daughter and her absentee father. Izuku calls up her father at his work number, hoping to hear a reply from him. The last time they spoke or even saw each other was at her mother's funeral. After she passed away from cancer, Izuku's father quit paying rent on their old home and instead moved her into a smaller apartment in the rougher end of town because it was cheaper. This, and since he did not have her mother to pay for anymore, he could now use the money to pay for his own apartment overseas. The only positive of this is the fact she doesn't see Bakugo at all anymore. Since she no longer lives in the same neighborhood and has to ride a different metro, she never sees the explosive blonde around her place. She honestly wishes her father had cheaped out on her back in middle school. That would have saved her a lot of heartache from having to deal with him every single day. To be blunt, she had been living alone ever since her mother had her hero costume made. It was the last thing she ever gave her, well, and her encouraging words of, "Don't worry Izuku, you'll be a wonderful hero no matter what secondary gender you present as." The phone rings at least 3 times before there is finally the sound of someone on the other end, Hisashi Midoriya's exhausted voice answering with a gruff, "What the F, do you want?" Izuku flinches at his harsh tone, but still tries to speak to him nonetheless. "Dad, it's me, Izuku. I presented last Monday as an Omega and had my first heat all at once in the middle of class." And? Her heart drops and she began to feel her eyes water. I was hoping you could, give me some advice or something, anything to help me out here? I'm alone and our building is full of alphas and it's scary for me to be alone here right now. Can I stay at a hotel until the scent from my heat wears off? My effing hell, listen Izuku, you cannot avoid alphas forever. You can learn to handle it on your own, you'll be fine. Besides, I'm not paying for any hotel. You can tough it out, that's what they are teaching you to do at UA, right? She lets out an involuntary whimper because she knew he wouldn't be the most understanding, but still she thought he'd more sympathetic than this. Please, I have nothing here to keep me calm and according to the school nurse, I'm anxious Omega. I don't want the alphas around here to scent me out. What if they try to hurt me? Geez, look who's full of herself, you're not that good looking. Trust me, most alpha males want girls with big melons and buttes. You have none of the above. You'll be safe. Dad, I know that. I just want to be safe, though, what's so wrong about that? Why can't I stay at a hotel? She cries to her father who simply scoffs on the other end. Because you're not your mother, you're not worth the money. Dad. Bye, Izuku, call me when you get mated or have something actually bad happen to you. He hangs up on her and she is left alone in her apartment without any words of comfort. Her inner Omega is whimpering and crying, not too different from what she is doing now. She winds up crying herself to sleep that night, holding onto an old throw blanket of her mother's just to have some semblance of a comforting scent by her. The following morning, after getting ready for school, she prepared to leave early to get ready for Recovery Girl's FRTLTY test. When Izuku had gotten out of her apartment building complex, she was stopped by an alpha in his car opening his door and trying to pull her in the vehicle. The young man was not bad looking, but she knew he was part of a local gang in the area and she wanted nothing to do with him. Come on, Omega, get in the car. He tries to intimidate her with hostile pheromones, but being by real villains like Shigaraki has her not being swayed by it whatsoever. No. Get your hands off of me, she screamed as she began to struggle against the alpha. A second alpha got out of the back seat of the car, grabbing her from behind, making her flail her limbs about to get out of their hold. Quit beaching, Omega. You'll be taken real good care of at our place. He sneers to her in a lecherous tone as his hold tightens on her. She would use one for all, but in the midst of this, her inner Omega is whimpering and crying out of fear at the hostile alphas. Due to this, she can't really activate her quirk to any extent like she would want to. Right when she thinks she is screwed, there is ice encasing the thug holding her from behind. He releases her immediately, but before his accomplice in the car can do anything, he too is frozen in diamond tough ice. She is about to fall on the ground when she is caught by none other than Todoroki? What are you doing here? I came here to drive you to school, but I had the displeasure of seeing these miscreants trying to take you away. Todoroki's tone is colder than the ice holding the men captive, and before they know it, their skin is starting to turn blue. The alpha inside the car yells at his driver, "D-drive, drive away now." Of course, what they did not know is that Todoroki had frozen the ground underneath the tires. While they drove away at the highest speed, the tires slid, causing the car to go far too quick, and the car crashed straight into a condemned brick building down the road. The man still frozen in the ice watched with wide eyes as his accomplices died and fire was used to melt the ice on the ground where the tires were once at. He is trembling out of fear and his inner alpha submits at the sight of an angered, far more powerful alpha in front of him. Try to touch my omega again and your fate will be that much worse. Got it? The guy swallows down his fear and stammers out a desperate, "Why, alpha, it won't happen again." Good to know. He is about to melt the ice but then he pauses and decides instead, it's supposed to be warm out today. The ice will melt on its own and you'll be free by then. Until then, enjoy your punishment, scum. Todoroki carries Izuku to the car, releasing calming pheromones all the while to calm down her distress at what all has recently transpired. Once inside the car, she is pretty shocked by the whole ordeal and when Todoroki asks her, "Is this common? How long have you been living here, Midoriya?" She answers it honestly, all due to her own state of shock. "I have been living here ever since my hero costume was made. My mom had it made up for me. It was the last thing she gave me before she passed away from BRST cancer. My dad works overseas, but he said I wasn't worth the rent money of our old place, so he had me move here because it's cheaper." Todoroki's inner alpha is ready to go overseas and give her father a piece of his mind. He maintains a semblance of calm to question her a bit further. Doesn't he know how dangerous this area is for an omega? Doesn't he care about how dangerous it is for you to be here? He's never been involved with my life. He's been gone all of my life. The first time I ever saw him in person was at my mom's funeral and he was only around for 3 days then. He's not the nicest to me, but I like to think he cares. I called him up last night and told him how scared I was, but he told me no alpha would go for me because I'm not attractive with big melons or a big butt. He refused to pay for a hotel for me because he said I wasn't worth the money. Todoroki's left side is starting to steam up, but he bites his lower lip and tries to keep calm. If he gets too angry now, she will get distressed and anxious again. He needs to maintain a state of calm so she won't get anxious. He comes up with an idea on the spot, one that has him almost smiling at the thought of it. "It's not safe for you here, no matter what. Your deadbeat father says. He doesn't care about you at all to not take your feelings or concerns into consideration. I do have an idea to keep you safe from alphas like these." "Really? What do you have in mind?" she asks with wide, curious eyes. He takes a small breath as his heterochromatic eyes meet her green eyes. "Midoriya, move in with me." She blushes on the spot to it, but then she thinks it over some. Living with Todoroki would be nice, and at least she'd be safe. "Would your family be okay with me moving in with you?" she asks him shyly because it's all so sudden and yet so scandalous. She'll be living with an alpha boy who's not her mate. The same alpha boy who she had lewd thoughts of for a full week during her heat. What if she has a heat and he's around? She'd probably jump the poor guy. She won't voice this concern to Todoroki. He doesn't need to know her perverted thoughts of him. They will be, and don't worry, we have a heat room in my house. My sister is an omega, so you'll have someone to show you how to handle it better. Todoroki takes her small hand into his own as he asks her, "Midoriya, please, will you move in with me?" She is about to answer but then car stops outside the school and there is an angry tapping on the window. The window is rolled down to reveal an angered All Might, glaring down the sight of Todoroki in the car with Izuku. The blonde hero snarls at the dual-colored teen, his eyes narrowing at the sight of him. "I heard a rumor you told everyone in your class you'd be the only one allowed to escort Midoriya to and from school from now on. Care to explain, Todoroki?" Todoroki returns his glare with passive eyes and an equally passive, "I only told them this information so they would stay away from her. I don't think it's wise to leave a bunch of horny alphas alone with an omega on her walk home from school. Don't you agree, All Might?" All Might is about to snap at the teenager, but then Izuku speaks up in his defense. "All Might, wait, please listen to me. If Todoroki hadn't been there to pick me up from school this morning, I would have been kidnapped by these alphas in their car. My home is in a rough area filled with hostile alphas. I need him there to keep them at bay." To All Might this is news. He thought she still lived in the same neighborhood as Bakugo, so, what happened? I thought you and Bakugo lived in the same neighborhood, he replies with a curious yet concerned eye. She sighs as she tells him, All Might, my mom died a while ago and I've been living in this new area of town that is rougher than my old neighborhood. My dad didn't want to pay the rent for my old place, so I'm living there even though he knows how uncomfortable I am with living there, but he doesn't care because he says I'm not worth the money and it's a scary place to live alone as an Omega. After hearing her rushed explanation, All Might looks at her with utmost seriousness when he asks her, Why didn't you tell me this right away? I would have helped you out. I didn't want to burden you, but it's okay though, because Todoroki said I can move into his place, she says in a way to make this more positive. Todoroki said I can move into his place. Into his place. His place. The very thought of her living with that sneaky, conniving alpha monster is not sitting well with him. In fact, he feels the ever-increasing need to smack Todoroki for being so devious as to make such a suggestion to her when he is the one who should and will be taking her in instead. All Might hears everything shattering around him, but he composes himself because she is most definitely not moving in with him. What if he tries something on her in her sleep? He is an alpha after all and he knows how disgusting alphas are towards omegas. Midoriya, there is no need for such an offer. You are moving in with me today after school, he proclaims, but as he does this, Todoroki has the nerve to bring up something very, very important All Might may or may not have forgotten. What about Aizawa? Shouldn't he know of this as well? He asks All Might with a testy look to his gaze that leaves him silently fuming. Oh Todoroki, you are clever and manipulative. This does not mean All Might is backing down. No, he will trudge on forward, facts be med. Aizawa will be fine with it when I explain the situation to him. So, what do you say, Midoriya? Will you move in with me instead? He asks her, hoping she will agree to this. Izuku thinks it over for a moment before asking Todoroki, If I move in with you, where will I sleep? Todoroki answers it as plain as day, with me in my bed. All Might is not okay with this, but neither is Izuku. Sharing a bed with Todoroki catches her off guard. If he knew just 1/3 of her sexualized thoughts of him she had during her heat, he would not be wanting her anywhere near his bed. Besides, she's not too sure if she could control her inner Omega around him, in a bed, especially his bed with his scent so thick and rich on it. She'd probably jump the poor guy just from her instinct going crazy alone. All Might, I think I will live with you from now on. You're like the dad I wish I had growing up instead of the one I got stuck with. Todoroki looks stunned by this, but All Might is grinning ear to ear. Sounds great to me, Midoriya. Todoroki glares down All Might. Well played, All Might, but this is not the end. Oh no, this is only the beginning. He will win this war no matter what the costs, and he will make him ever regret starting this war to begin with. Her FRTLTY test with Recovery Girl is interesting to say the least. It starts off with the pelvic exam, but Izuku's not used to it. She had to have Todoroki's white t-shirt by her side so she can inhale more of his scent. She at first felt dumb for forgetting it the day before, but she's happy she did now. The older woman stops the entire process to ask her bluntly, Okay, what is really going on with you? Izuku appears confused by this statement, but Recovery Girl elaborates for her, I know your first heat and your presenting as an Omega in the middle of class with your alpha classmates was terrifying, but this is starting to get ridiculous. Why are you so upset? Izuku bites her lower lip and explains to the nurse, Both of my parents are betas. Everyone in my family is a beta. I know so much about being a beta, it's not even funny. I thought all of my life I'd be a beta. It was expected of me to be one, actually. So, presenting as an Omega after a lifetime reassurance of being a beta, I can't help but feel like I am a failure. I don't know anything about Omegas, I've never met one, and I don't know how to be one. It doesn't help that I'm sure my dad hates me for being one, too. I don't know, it's a lot to take in still. Fact of the matter is, Omegas are a minority in society. Not many people are Omegas, and since betas can give birth to children as well, Omegas are seen as treasures by alphas but redundant in the eyes of betas. Betas are much more common to come across than omegas, something that all omegas know, and as such, accurate information out there on omegas is limited at best. It is rare for a beta to birth an omega, but it can happen. It's something Recovery Girl takes the time to educate Izuku on. Izuku, though rare, betas can birth omegas or alphas if their families keep on mating with betas only. It's all a freak genetic mutation that happens once in a generation, and you just so happen to be that once in a generation. You are not a failure for being an omega, and if your father really does hate you for being one, then screw him. He's a worthless person for hating you for something so out of your control. She then hands her a booklet containing all the basic, currently known information on omegas, telling her softly, I know it's a lot to take in. Being an omega isn't a walk in the park, but if anyone can navigate it with success, it's you. This should help you out with any questions you have that you feel cannot be asked out loud or answered by a beta or an alpha. Izuku takes the booklet and begins to read it, feeling more relaxed as Recovery Girl does her pelvic exam. It's a good booklet on how to deal with presenting as an omega, how to navigate the inner omega, and how to deal with the heats. One thing she takes away from the first section is there is no one way on how to be an omega. Being omega is simply a part of herself, but it's not who she is. She can be an omega and still be herself. There really is no how on how to be an omega. This being said, she wishes this piece of information was an actual book and not just a booklet. She knows there's not much information out there on omegas, but she had hoped there would have been an actual book out there on them. She has snapped out her musings, Recovery Girl informing her, there was nothing abnormal in your pelvic exam, but I'd like to examine your scent glands next. It's normal for them to be slightly swollen after a heat, but if they are too swollen, it could be a sign of hormonal imbalance. Okay. While this is taking place, she distracts herself by reading more of the booklet. She then asks Recovery Girl, this booklet has a final section on how to spot out your fated mate. I thought omegas and betas were the same in that it's all done by touch. Recovery Girl chuckles to this. Oh no, Midoriya, omegas go through an entirely different process. Weird. When she finishes with the section on how to handle heats, she gets on to the final section and is about to read it until Recovery Girl says, okay, now we need to do a blood test to figure out your hormone levels. Once the results come back in a week, we will know if you are fertile or not. She does the blood test and after it is over, Recovery Girl tells her, you can finish the final part but remember to bring it back to me, okay? Izuku nods, thanking her with a brighter smile than she has had on her face ever since she presented, okay, thank you for your help, Recovery Girl. She walks out of her office feeling more assured in being an omega. She feels calmer about it, less panicky, and less disappointed overall. Now that she has a better idea of how to handle being an omega, it's not as terrifying nor is it as anxiety-inducing as it was before. She is reading the part of the booklet about how omegas find their fated mates when she collides into a solid muscled body, falling on the floor when she does so. Izuku then hears the brash, get the f up, Deku. I'm not going to be late for my next class because of your clumsy butt. She groans and gets herself up, knowing Bakugo would never offer to help her. Surprise, surprise, he didn't. When she does stand up, he eyes the booklet in her hands, asking her smugly with a mischievous look to his crimson eyes, what? Learning how to handle your heats so you don't constantly think of me when you're getting off. Honestly, if you want the real thing, I'd be more than willing to give it to you sometime, shitty nerd. Her inner omega is snarling and hissing because it feels like he's mocking her. Sure, maybe he isn't, but it feels like he is. If you want to mock me, don't bring up my heat. That's gross to do, she remarks to him with a firm look in her eyes. He gives her a dumbfounded look before rolling his eyes. What? No, you nerd, I was trying to flirt with you, stupid omega. Flirt with her? Does he for real? After every bad thing he's ever said to her. Stupid Deku, like you could ever get any alpha to mate your plain butt? FNG beta trash, not even a desperate alpha would mark you. Even desperate alphas have higher standards than that. Don't bother talking to her, guys. She's just a useless, weak, cowardly beta beach. Her inner omega is set off at him and like it said in the booklet, when the inner omega is angered, it is better to release the anger than hold it in. Holding it in will only increase the anxiety problems in an anxious omega like herself, and she'd rather not have more of that. Thank you very much. You do not get to flirt with me after all you've said and done to me, Bakugo. Izuku speaks in a calm, cold, hard tone. It catches the blonde off guard, but then she keeps the attack up, unleashing the inner omega rage inside of her. You don't even get to call me Deku anymore. We haven't been friends for years, not ever since your quirk manifested before mine and you became a total JRK. After all the things you said to me, all the times you called me plain and gross looking, you think I'd let that go? You really think if you were semi-nice to me for 1 minute I'd forget it all and let you be my alpha? Well, you're wrong. He is about to speak, only to be cut off by her cutting down his chances even further than what Todoroki ever did. You cannot use your quirk to attack me for years, you cannot call me awful names, and tell me to go kill myself and expect me to even think you are attractive in the slightest way. I'd rather have Mineta as an alpha before you because at least he'd treat me right and worship the ground I walk on. It's just like what All Might said, you'd only beat me and cheat on me, so no, I am not your omega and I never will be your omega. You're not cacking to me anymore because you're not my friend anymore and it's all your own fault for messing things up between us. You're just Bakugo now, the hot-headed lout I would never, ever consider for 1 minute history between us be demed. By the way, for your information, you're not that hot. I didn't think of you once during my heat, I thought about Todoroki the whole time. Her inner omega calms down at the end of her rant and it feels as though a weight has been lifted off of her shoulders. Then she sees the look in her former friend's face and it doesn't make her feel bad like it should. How many times has he left her feeling heartbroken and torn down? Far too many for her to count. How many times has he made her feel awful and insecure about herself? The same amount of times her dad did. She exhales then and begins to walk away. Immediately after this, she's halted in her movements by her former friend grabbing her wrist. Deku, look, I know I did some F-ed up shit, just try to give me another chance. Why, so you can call me worthless, useless, and unattractive again. If I wanted to hear how ugly, worthless, and useless I am, I would call up my dad or video chat with him. I don't need another him in my life, even if it is you. Izuku turns on her heel to make one thing very, very clear to him. I don't need to settle for alphas who act like my beta father, not when there are far more powerful and better alphas here. You're not Todoroki, Bakugo. You're not worth my time. His hand slips on her wrist, causing her to leave him behind. This made her feel confident and strong for what she had said. Maybe when her inner omega is silent she'll feel bad, but for right now, she feels amazing for telling him off like that. Stupid Bakugo needed to hear it. However, she wishes she hadn't done so in such a loud way because before she knows it, Uraraka, Mina, and Tsuyu are right by her side with grins on their faces. Oh hey, what's up? She asks them with a polite smile on her lips as they walk to their next class. Oh nothing. Just heard that you spent your whole heat thinking about Todoroki. Mina comments offhandedly with a casual tone. She wishes she had been quieter about it. A blush creeps on her face as she averts her eyes away from them. Where on earth could you have heard that? You just said to Bakugo and I quote from you, by the way, for your information you're not that hot. I didn't think of you once during my heat, I thought about Todoroki the whole time. Uraraka speaks with a certain glee to her voice that leaves Izuku thinking she's planning something. Uraraka, please tell me you won't say a word to him. It's too embarrassing. Izuku begs her friend, which causes the shorter brunette to look at her with questioning eyes. Why can't we tell him? Uraraka asks her slowly with a lowered brow. Izuku doesn't feel like explaining it because these girls would not get it. They're all so pretty and they all have better bodies than her. She always feels so ugly in comparison. A guy, an alpha, like Todoroki would probably want a girl with a figure like Yaoyorozu's, Uraraka's, Mina's, Jiru's, or Tsuyu's. They're all curvy and nicely shaped, but then there's herself. When her dad first saw her in person at the funeral, his first words were, "If you want a melon's job when you hit 18, I'll pay for it. I mean you're gonna need one if you ever want to get an alpha or beta to mate you." She's always been skinny, short, with a narrow shoulder, hips, and waist. Her bust is rather small and she's always been told she needs a melon's job. Even now, after all the working out she's done, she's lean but she still looks really small. Her curves are firm and perky, but otherwise non-existent. How is she supposed to feel around all of these girls who are literally better built than her and so much prettier than her in the face too? Todoroki wouldn't like a girl that looks like her thinking about him during her heat. He'd probably feel repulsed by it. Please, Uraraka, Mina, and Tsuyu, don't tell him. I didn't mean to say that out loud, I only said it because Bakugo had the nerve to say I thought of him during my heat and he did it in a way that was condescending to me. Izuku begs of her friends who all immediately understand. Tsuyu is the first to react to the news. He had the nerve to say that to you? What a self-absorbed jerk. I knew he had to have done something bad to make you react like that, Karo. Uraraka is the one who personally offers, I can go back there and send him flying out the window, Deku. That alpha JRK loves to act like he's head of the pack when Todoroki's not around, but when Todoroki's around he cowers. How pathetic, to pick on an Omega like that. You should report him for harassment. It is Mina who congratulates her first, though, I'm glad you stood up for yourself back there. He needed to hear it from you and when you told him you thought of Todoroki the whole time, I wanted to cheer so badly. You were so awesome and brave back there to stand up to him. I'm amazed you could after what happened on Monday with the incident. In all honesty, Izuku, once off of her heat, knew her classmates didn't mean to react the way they did. They were alphas who had no prior Omega exposure. They didn't know how to handle her scent or her heat. It wasn't their fault they reacted the way they did. It's okay, I know you guys aren't interested in me like that. You just didn't have any Omega exposure before like Kaminari and Todoroki did. Now that you have had some, hopefully you'll be able to remain calmer if an Omega ever does go into heat. Izuku says with a shrug while holding her booklet close to her person, feeling relieved Bakugo hadn't noticed she is on the section discussing fated mates. The majority of Class 1A aren't interested in her like that and her conclusion is correct for the majority. However, this doesn't mean there aren't few dumb enough to challenge Todoroki for the right to court her. Aizawa had told the class of Omega harassment and what constitutes as Omega harassment. Sadly enough, only 2 alphas in the whole class knew what Omega harassment is, Kaminari and Todoroki, while the rest never even heard of it before until this morning. He hadn't told them All Might's definition of Omega harassment because it was just too much for him to handle. No, an alpha standing too close in line is not Omega harassment, Yagi. There is now a system set up where classmates can report each other anonymously for Omega harassment. All they have to do is fill out a little form detailing the harassment, who is the perpetrator of said harassment, and Aizawa will ask Izuku herself about it to confirm it. If the student is guilty, then they will be suspended for 2 weeks, like Jairu and Yaoyorozu have been after Izuku's heat ended. If they are not guilty, then the report is written off of as nothing happened. Mina had been the one to tell Izuku of this system and she is the first one to urge her, report Bakugo for harassment. He deserves it for even trying to use your heat to belittle you. Izuku only shrugs in response, I don't think I need to really. I already told him off, isn't that enough? Uraraka sighs deeply, not really caring at this point if she wants to report him or not. What he did is Omega harassment, Deku. He should be suspended for it. Izuku is still hesitant to do so, but she does promise her friends, don't worry, I'll report him if he does one more thing that upsets me. Tsuyu gives her a fair enough warning, one that manages to actually kind of scare her with the way she said it so angrily. If he does something again, I'll report him and throw him off of the school grounds myself. Their day goes by without much incident from anyone else, but soon it's lunchtime. Instead of leaving her alone after her outburst, Bakugo is grabbing her by the wrist and dragging her away with him. Bakugo, stop it. Let me go, she snaps at him, her inner Omega not too pleased with his presence. In it, Deku, how the F can you not think of me once during your heat? I've known you longer than him, he snaps right back with a frustrated glow to his eyes. If you want to talk down to me, then go ahead, but don't ever if you use that beast to do so, got it? She glares at him with narrowed eyes, her inner Omega snarling and hissing at him once more. I wasn't talking down to you. I was being honest. I didn't think of you once because even though you've known me longer, you were the worst person ever to me and I thought that was a title only my dad could hold, but no, you're worse than him. Like I said, you're not that hot, Todoroki's better than you, get over it already and leave me alone. He has her pinned roughly against the wall, her back feeling as though it's going to bruise with the way he slammed her into it. She won't give him the satisfaction of knowing this, though. She's not in the mood to deal with him and her inner Omega gets so livid whenever he's near her it's not even funny. Look, I know I did F it up sheet, but damn it Deku, I think we're fated mates. She gives him a bewildered glance before laughing to this because, what? Is he kidding her right now? There's no way she'd be fated to someone as awful to her as him. She'd rather be fated to Mineta or her own father before Bakugo. Don't even laugh, shitty nerd, he growls at her, causing her to pause in her laughter for a moment to calm down. Izuku composes herself for a moment before replying with a small, I'm sorry, it's just, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. There's no way we're fated. I'd rather be fated to anyone else on the planet before you. Bakugo snarls at her then, not liking the feeling of being mocked by her. What the F dash? How the hell would you even know if we're fated or not? You're an Omega, you wouldn't know that sheet. Izuku gives him a thoughtful glance that manages to make him feel nervous on the spot, his inner alpha no longer feeling confident, strong, and assured in his thoughts. Really? Because in the booklet I got from Recovery Girl, it said that an anxious Omega like myself can tell when someone is not their fated mate if the calming pheromone they release doesn't calm the inner Omega down properly. So, go ahead, use your strongest calming pheromone on me and see if it makes my inner Omega hiss. Never one to back down from a challenge, despite the fact his inner alpha is shrieking at him not to do it. Bakugo does release his strongest calming pheromone and dies on the inside when she starts to struggle in his hold, her eyes showing her fear and discomfort. Are you going to kill me? Do you know you're supposed to use calming pheromones, right? Izuku stresses to him with worried words and a struggle to break herself free. What the no, I'm not going to kill you. That is my calming pheromone at its strongest dosage, stupid Deku. Bakugo feels frantic as his inner alpha admits defeat at her words. He then releases her and averts his eyes to the ground. He cannot believe it at first, but it's true. Going off of what his inner alpha is saying to him, they're not fated. We're not fated, Bakugo. Just let it go and leave me alone. Izuku says to him after a moment's silence filled with heavy tension and the sting of rejection for Bakugo. When she feels safe enough to do so, she leaves his side and goes over to Aizawa's class to report Bakugo for Omega harassment. When she is close by, she sees Todoroki leaving his room and instantly feels a nervous blush coming on as she says, "Oh, hi, Todoroki. How are you doing?" He gives her a simple answer with a question tacked on at the end, "I am doing fine. Why you here? Shouldn't you be eating?" Izuku gives him a vague answer because she doesn't want Todoroki to get in trouble for freezing Bakugo to death. "I'm here to talk to Aizawa about Omega stuff." "Oh, okay then." His voice trails off for a moment there, but then he remembers what he wanted to say. "I just wanted to let you know I did not mean anything SXL when I said you would be sleeping in my bed with me. I meant it as a platonic thing, but as Aizawa told me, I should have made that clear from the beginning. I'm sorry if it put you off from living with me." He really didn't mean anything SXL by it. His sister always shared her bed with her friends whenever they spent the night at their place. He just thought it was normal, but then Aizawa had called him in after class to ask him why he said that to Izuku. When he explained it to the beta, Aizawa had to tell him how this was all misunderstood and why he should clear it up to Izuku. Though his explanation makes her feel a form of relief, there's a greater sense of sadness from her inner Omega. Of course it'd be platonic. He wouldn't want to do anything SXL with her anyway, what with her lackluster body and plain face. It feels like a rejection on her end, but she smiles nonetheless. "Thank you for clearing that up. To me, Todoroki, but I still want to live with All Might. He really is like a dad to me and I think I would enjoy living with him." I understand. He's kicking himself for being a bit too blunt this morning in the car, but oh well. This is only a small battle. He will win the war. I'll see you at lunch then. "I'll see you there, Todoroki." She enters Aizawa's office and reports Bakugo for Omega harassment. It was honestly nothing more than her telling him what happened at both incidents in the halls. The only real critique Aizawa has for her is, you shouldn't have let him off the hook the first time around. Next time you are harassed only once, report it right away so there won't be problems with other alphas. I understand, thank you Aizawa. While this is taking place, Todoroki is looking for Bakugo. He cannot believe the nerve of the blonde alpha to get his scent all over his mate. How dare he do this? How dare he try to make a move on his Omega and humiliate his rule over the pack like this? He does find Bakugo and upon first sight he freezes him. He approaches the blonde terror with a firm stance, heterochromatic eyes boring holes straight into him as he speaks. Didn't I make myself clear to you? Midoriya Izuku is the fated mate of Todoroki Shudo. No one in our pack besides myself is allowed to touch her, didn't you understand that? As the ice is about cover his face, there is a loud voice speaking from behind him. Young Todoroki, release this miscreant. He's going to be suspended immediately for harassment. All Might cannot say what Bakugo did to Izuku in front of him. If he does so, Todoroki may just kill him this time around. Todoroki releases him after 2 minutes of tensed silence. He allows All Might to take him away after this and goes to find a seat where he can eat with his mate in peace. As for Izuku, before she started to return to the cafeteria, she dropped off the booklet at Recovery Girl's office. She's feeling frustrated by the final section. It wasn't a guide for helping an anxious Omega like herself find a fated mate. All it did was say the anxious Omega needs a mate whose pheromones can calm them, but if the alpha or beta's pheromones don't calm them, then they aren't their mate. So, should she assume her mate is Kaminari then? How about Todoroki? Maybe not him, that he has only platonic feelings for her, apparently. Just thinking this thought makes her inner Omega cry out in a deep sorrow. It wasn't helpful at all. She wishes there had been more information, but all she learned is anxious Omegas like herself are a rarity in a minority. Great. Just great. So if she wants to figure out who her fated mate is, she has to ask every alpha and beta to use their calming pheromones on her. There has to be a better way, isn't there? Maybe she can look it up on her phone. Before she can look it up on her phone, she is greeted by a rather excited redhead. Hello, Midoriya. I got you these. Kirishima hands her a bouquet of pink roses and she smiles at the gesture, glad to see he's thinking of her. Thank you, Kirishima. I hope you don't mind me asking, but why did you give me these? He grins widely while composing himself somewhat, his inner alpha excited at the possibilities of what can happen next. I am wanting to court you. What do you say about having lunch with me? Something about the offer makes her inner Omega want to reject it. Something about the offer makes her inner Omega uncomfortable with it, but not in the same angered hissing way it had been with Bakugo. It's more of a situation like being asked out by your childhood best friend. You don't see them as more than a friend and yet they've apparently fallen for you without your knowledge of it. Izuku isn't the type to be blunt, but she is letting him down gently from this. Kirishima, I'm sorry, but I don't really want to court with you. You're an amazing friend and a wonderful alpha, but you're not my alpha. I'm sorry. Kirishima looks defeated at first, but he quickly perks back up to ask, how do you know for fact I am not your alpha? Izuku would explain it to him as, my inner Omega doesn't think of you as anything more than a friend and neither do I. I'm sorry, but I'm sure there are other betas and Omegas out there who'd be better for you. But I really like you and I would at least like to try one courting session with you. I'm sorry, but it doesn't feel right to me. Midoriya, please, I can prove myself as being a great alpha if given the chance. There's a firm hand on his shoulder that has him pausing in all of his thoughts. He hears All Might's voice saying to him in a too calm tone. She said, no. Accept it and move on, alpha. He nods in response, only to hear the number one hero say, this counts as Omega harassment. You are suspended. Kirishima is horrified to hear this. Ah, what? You've got to be kidding me. I am not. Now leave, alpha scum. Kirishima doesn't bother fighting with the older alpha and takes his leave without incidents. All Might is now alone with Izuku, asking her, are you all right? Izuku replies with a small confirmation, I am fine. He wasn't being hostile or nasty, just too persistent. Even then, that's not an excuse. The minute you told him no, he should have stopped and respected your wishes. Hopefully he learns to do this for other Omegas now. All Might replies to her with such strong conviction, it makes her feel glad to know she has someone in her life who actually cares about Omegas and their safety. Thank you, All Might. Izuku says to him before asking him, is Aizawa okay with me moving in with you? That's nothing for you to worry about. Don't worry, Midoriya, you will be fine with me. Except, he hasn't spoken of it to Aizawa yet and he's planning on surprising him with this. Hopefully he'll be fine with it. He hopes he will be, anyway. Okay, I should get going now, All Might. I don't want to miss my lunch PRD. Be safe from all the dirty alpha biestas, Midoriya. Don't be afraid to attack them or hurt them if they get too persistent. Okay then? She then hurries over to the cafeteria and is almost there when Kaminari approaches her with a casual smile. Hello Midoriya, how are you doing? Are any of the alphas giving you any problems? Izuku smiles brightly at him, grateful to see the other boy really is as nice as he had been on the day of her heat. I am doing good. None of the alphas or betas are giving me problems, but then I think a lot of that has to do with All Might. He sees the bouquet of pink roses and asks her, where did you get those? Kirishima gave them to me when he asked to court me. I didn't want to because he's more of a friend than anything else, but when he wouldn't accept my answer, All Might suspended him. Kaminari suppresses his growl. He knew Bakugo and Kirishima would both try to court her, but it looks like it was all for naught. He knew she wouldn't go for Bakugo because of their bad history together and Kirishima is too much of a friend for her to want to date him. It doesn't mean he isn't said. Oh hell no, he's set off to the highest heavens. He will show her how a true courting goes, even if it comes at the expense of his life. Hey, what do you say about having lunch with me? I'll treat you like a queen, my Omega. He takes the back of her hand and kisses it gently, causing her to blush. His inner alpha lights up in glee when she replies with a slow nod of her head, okay, we can eat together. I think that would be nice. Great. Here, let me carry you, because it's improper for an alpha to make the Omega do all the work during a courtship. W8. He picks her up and carries her princess style into the cafeteria, choosing an area by the window that is pretty desolate at the moment. He then sets her down and asks, what do you want to eat? Don't worry, I'll be the one getting everything for you. Whatever sounds good, I guess. She replies with a small, taken aback tone because she didn't know she had agreed to a courtship. She had thought she had accepted an innocent offer to have lunch with him, not a courtship offer. Excellent, I'll be back soon. Kaminari cheers while rushing over to the line for the food. This is not met with ignorance. Oh no, all of Class 1 as alphas are filing out of the cafeteria as Todoroki's eyes glare down Kaminari from his position in the cafeteria, getting ready to see what all the blonde menace is going to do to his mate. Kaminari Denki is a dead man walking. Denki is a nice alpha, and maybe he wouldn't be so bad to mate with. He gets her lunch and manages to pick out her favorite dish by guessing alone. He talks to her about his favorite pastimes and she finds out they like a lot of the same heroes. Even when she shows him her notebook, he looks through it with interest, genuine interest and not the forced kind. When lunch is over, he picks her up princess style one more time, only for Izuku to object to this. Kaminari, really, I can walk. There's no need to throw your back out over me. The blonde teen simply grins. As the alpha, it's my job to cater to you, protect you, and keep you safe for life. During our courtship, I will be the one handling everything and so long as we are courting, you will not be walking anywhere for the rest of the school week. Oh, and call me Denki sweetheart, you've earned it. She blushes as he takes her out of the cafeteria with ease, but she doesn't notice or see the dark glare Todoroki is giving Kaminari. His inner alpha is screaming, hissing, and thirsting for his blood on his hands because he's touching his mate, he's courting his mate, he's humiliating him in front of the whole pack with this act of rebellion against him. How dare he? Todoroki is not one to take this lightly. Oh hell no, this will end badly for Kaminari. This being said, All Might already said they can only report Omega harassment. If they attack the person doing so, they will be given detention. He's already been told by Aizawa he cannot keep using his quirks to de-escalate his pack, so he can't use it on Denki on school grounds. Looks like he will have to find another way to punish Denki for his insolence. Izuku, on the other hand, doesn't mind Denki. Maybe he wouldn't be a bad mate? He's no Todoroki, but Todoroki only sees her as a friend. At least she thinks he does. She feels so dumb for thinking of him during her heat when he only sees her as a friend. Oh well, at least there's always Denki. Denki is a nice, funny, flirty guy with an amazing quirk of his own, and he's a good, strong alpha. He is the one who got her out of the classroom in one piece during her heat, and he is the one who was going to take her to the emergency heat room. He's been excellent to her, actually. He takes her to class and sets her down on her chair, his antique gold eyes gleaming with joy as Izuku thanks him in a small voice, her blush still on her cheeks. Thank you, Denki. You're a very kind alpha. Denki grins in response, taking the back of her hand and kissing it gently. It's my pleasure to be taking such excellent care of you, my Omega. She blushes to this, her eyes not meeting his as he pulls away. You're very sweet, Denki. It is at this moment the room becomes drastically hotter and everyone is begging poor Present Mike to turn on the AC or something. However, as he looked into the class, he saw Todoroki there with his left side steaming and his right side freezing everything near it. Present Mike may be an alpha, but Todoroki scares the living hell out of him. He saw what happened last Monday on those security cameras. He's not winding up frozen in diamond tough ice. Hell no. He addresses the problem in his own, unique way. Hey, Kaminari, mind telling me what's up between you and Midoriya? Denki answers with such strong alpha pride. It makes Present Mike believe an idiot's pride is the key to invincibility. I am courting her. That's right, this Omega is the future mate of Kaminari Denki. Read it and weep, losers. Present Mike can tell that Todoroki is about to strike, so he asks Izuku, Midoriya, how did he ask you to court with him? Izuku answers him with something that makes Todoroki glare down Kaminari and let out an open feral growl at the other alpha. Well, he asked me to eat lunch with him and I said yes. After that, he said we were courting. I didn't know it was a courtship offer until after I said yes, but he's not a bad alpha. Present Mike nods before casually replying, Kaminari, you are suspended for Omega harassment. The blonde's golden eyes widen at this, his next words spoken out of disbelief. How? You lied about your intentions with the Omega in question. It is wrong for alphas and betas to ask Omegas to do things with them and then spring it on them out of nowhere. It is a courtship after they agree to do whatever it is that is offered. Present Mike explains to him in a way that is just so plain, yet it makes Denki stammer out in response, but she likes being courted by me. She may like it, but it doesn't change the fact that you lied to her about your intentions. She probably felt coerced into it and came to enjoy it the longer she was by you. It's not a good way to start a mated relationship, Kaminari, and it's not one any Omega deserves. Before he can take his leave, Todoroki instantly raises his hand. In the school rules, it is said the head alphas can de-escalate anyone in the pack at the training grounds for disobedience of pack rules and trying to usurp the pack leader. May I de-escalate Kaminari before he leaves? Present Mike is not one to tell this kid no at this point, so he agrees to it. Sure. Go ahead, Todoroki, de-escalate your pack member. Thank you, sir. Denki is wide-eyed and terrified as Todoroki drags him out of the room. When they are in the hall, he tells him in an icy tone, prepare to suffer for trying to court and mate my Omega, Kaminari. Denki, needless to say, is beaten and frozen half to death soon after reaching the training grounds. At the end of the school day, All Might is feeling victorious because Izuku is going to be moving in with himself and Aizawa, but then Aizawa brings it up to him. Hey, didn't your plan to get Todoroki suspended for Omega harassment fail? All Might thinks it over for a minute before snarling. The sneaky BSD. He managed to evade all Omega harassment reports all day long. He kept up perfect Omega conduct even when sorely tempted to do so otherwise. Well played, Todoroki. Well played indeed. It's just a small loss, nothing big at all. All Might tries to laugh it off, but Aizawa isn't having it. Small loss how? Sure, she won't be living with him, but he'll see her more at school than at home. He won a major victory today and you won it for him by suspending his competition. Just admit defeat now before he uses another one of your plans against you. Aizawa advises to him, but All Might is not having it. Nope. This war is still on, sneakiness be damned. Aizawa internally groans but says nothing else. He just wants to get home, away from this war, and the madness of it all. All Might is about to follow him in leaving only to be interrupted by Recovery Girl clearing her throat. Yagi, we need to talk. Sure, he responds out of pure curiosity. She goes on to tell him out of pure exasperation. It's about Izuku. I only know how to do basic Omega care and that's it. I cannot answer her many questions about Omegahood and I cannot do more complex tests or exams. She needs to see an Omega specialist. I am the only one in this whole building who's ever worked on Omegas, so I've done my part in the basics, but she will need an expert for everything else. Here's the card of one I know that specializes in anxious Omegas. Have her see him from now on for her medical issues because I can only do so much as an alpha. He knows the poor old woman did all that she could for the girl and as an alpha, she can only understand so much. At this point, it's for the best if Izuku does see a real Omega specialist for her future Omega health concerns. Okay, I'll give her the card and have her work it out for herself. Excellent. Thank you very much for doing this for me. It's no problem. He puts the card in his pocket and meets up with Izuku outside the building. From there on, he follows her to her new neighborhood only to be amazed at the sight of it. He cannot believe her dad would actually make her live here, in this area filled with such hostile alphas. Even her apartment is filled with hostile alphas too. Honestly, this has him gritting his teeth in pure alpha rage as he heavily considers going overseas to kill her father for leaving her alone in such squander. They were able to get everything of hers together. She didn't have much and the furniture in the apartment all came with the apartment, so she couldn't take it even if she wanted to. Rather quickly and before they knew it, they were on the metro to All Might's home with Aizawa. Does Aizawa know I am moving in with you? She asks him one more time just to be sure he actually did talk to him about it. All Might laughs lightly, his blue eyes not meeting hers when he replies, I am the alpha in the relationship, he'll have to accept it whether he likes it or not. Or so he tells himself. Izuku doesn't really believe this is the right way to view things, but she doesn't comment otherwise. By the time they arrive at his home with Aizawa, Izuku is met with the sight of a nice, high-end apartment and a shocked Aizawa there in casual clothes glaring down All Might. Yeah, you are so effing dead. All Might takes his mate's hand and leads him over to their room, telling Izuku, just wait there, Midoriya. We'll be back soon. In their bedroom, All Might makes his case to Aizawa, knowing very well this could backfire horribly on him. Okay, so I know what you're thinking, Yagi, you've gone crazy. But I swear I haven't. Her dad is a deadbeat who had her living alone in an apartment filled with hostile alphas in the bad area of town. I had to take her in or else she'd be living with Todoroki, the pervert who wants her to share a bed with him. Aizawa is stunned he did this all without even thinking of telling him. Let me get this straight. You took in a stray Omega kid without telling me because you couldn't handle the idea of her sharing a bed with Todoroki? He slowly nods and Aizawa groans loudly. Yagi no. Give her to Todoroki, she'll be in good hands with him. All Might rejects this idea instantaneously. Never. That boy just wants to feel her up in her sleep and you know what can happen in a young alpha's bed, Aizawa. Fact of the matter is, Aizawa and All Might got mated after Aizawa had spent the night at All Might's place once and shared a bed with the alpha. The blonde hero had no clue he was nearing his rut but when it hit, well, the rest is history. Aizawa knows why he is cautious. He doesn't want her to be taken advantage of, he gets that. It doesn't change the facts, though. Yagi, when he said she would sleep in his bed, he meant it platonically. What? Aizawa had heard from Yagi earlier in the morning about how Todoroki had said Izuku could sleep with him in his bed. Since he does want this war to end before it gets too messy, he calls Todoroki into the classroom when everyone else has left for lunch. He just could not believe he had been so blunt. Mind telling me why All Might was complaining about your wanting Midoriya to live with you and share a bed with you, Todoroki? If he sounds annoyed, it's only because he is. He doesn't get paid enough to put up with all the shit he gets from alphas, and he most definitely does not want to deal with an alpha war. Oh that? Yeah, I said that because she can share a bed with me. My sister always shares a bed with her friends whenever they spend the night at my place. Todoroki explains with such casualty it honestly amazes Aizawa. Wait, so you meant it all as platonic? Nothing SXL at all? No. Why? Aizawa looks at him incredulously as he says, you need to explain this to Midoriya right away. She probably thought you wanted to feel her up in her sleep. She would think that of me? I am raised better than that. Todoroki responds with a wary eye. Okay, All Might thought that of you, but she probably didn't feel comfortable with it because she didn't know your intentions were platonic. Just make it clear to her so she knows you didn't mean it in a Mineta way. Todoroki shrugs it off, replying with a calm, I will tell her my true intentions then. Thank you, Aizawa. All Might's power to reject such options is a quirk no one man can control, wield, or utilize to such an extent. I don't care if he meant it all as a platonic situation. She wants to live with me because I am like the dad she never had growing up, Aizawa. Look, her mom is dead and has been for a while now. She lives alone in a rundown neighborhood and her dad clearly doesn't care. Can't she just stay here for a little while? Aizawa makes his main argument opposing this all too clear. I don't want your little alpha war with NG's psycho son brought onto my doorstep, Yagi. What if he discovers where we live? What if he decides to make our lives a living hell for us here at home? He won't do that with her around because he'll be too busy trying to impress her. Aizawa, you don't need to worry. The war won't come here, and if it does, I'll call up NG to tell him to put a leash on his monster. Aizawa won't admit it out loud to anyone, but All Might knows underneath his hard exterior is a softy, which is why he ultimately groans and admits defeat. Okay, she can stay here, but if the war comes to my doorstep, you are so dead. Thank you, Aizawa. All Might says as he tries to kiss him. Needless to say, Aizawa pushes him away and goes out to the living room where Izuku is at. Hey, Midoriya, listen, I'm sorry for the hostile welcome, but when your mate springs a sudden adoption up without ever telling you a word about it, it can make you bitchy. Anyway, I'm fine with you staying here. Aizawa tells her with a hint of acceptance in his tone as well as calm. Thank you, Aizawa. She beams at him as he leads her to her new room. The whole while he is showing her the room he is thinking, Yugi, so help me F-, if this blows up in your face, you are buying me a new bed and going through a long dry spell. The following morning, Aizawa is already telling Yagi, call up the Omega specialist. I don't want to deal with Omega issues or questions. He's only saying this because in the middle of the night, Izuku had gotten her PRD and he had been the one to get her the pads she needed. She wasn't the stereotypical Omega during a PRD. She didn't get bossy, flirty, or even the least bit aroused. She instead asked questions. Lots and lots of questions. Uncomfortable questions for Aizawa to answer, ranging from the, is it normal for Omegas to get PRDs after a heat? To, does mating for an Omega really involve SEC and nodding by an alpha? To the worst one of all, does nodding hurt? His answer to all of it? I'm a beta and I don't know how it works for Omegas. He couldn't answer the last one because for him it didn't hurt, but then, his mating experience wasn't normal by any means necessary. Yagi looks at him in shock before sighing deeply. Aizawa, come on, it's already early, can't we just wait for a day or so? I'm sure she's not that bad. Aizawa glares down his blonde mate and makes it very, very clear to him, no. This is happening today. Call up the specialist and make the appointment. She'll have to miss some classes though. I'll be the one writing up the note excusing her. Now call up the specialist and make the appointment. At the sound of the nastiest snarl he's ever heard from the beta, Yagi calls up the Omega specialist and makes the appointment as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Izuku is watching the news on TV when she sees Aizawa enter the living room. Before she can even speak, he's already saying, don't even think of asking me any Omega questions, mating questions, or any question that will put me off in general. Tashinori is getting you an appointment today for the Omega specialist, so save the questions for him. She nods and resumes watching the news. Aizawa is happy for the silence. yet it is only temporary. How did you know All Might is your mate? This is a question he can answer, which is why he decides to do so. I honestly didn't know for the longest time. Before our mating, we were more or less strangers bordering on work acquaintances. We never spoke to each other or hung out with each other outside of work. How did you two become mates then? She asks him out of pure curiosity. Aizawa answers it in the way people talk about the weather. Well, one day we got done fighting a villain and the guy destroyed the place I had been staying at. I needed a place to sleep for the night, so he offered to have me spend the night with him. I said yes, but at the time, he was just starting out and he didn't have anywhere else to sleep but his bed. In the middle of the night, his rut hit and I wasn't one to say no to that, so... Izuku stares at him incredulously with stunned eyes. You just slept with him? No objections or anything? Yeah, I did. It's All Might, the guy is hot and the perfect alpha. That and my inner beta would have killed me had I not gone along with it. Aizawa explains while going through his phone. I got mated to him after that one night. It wasn't a bad experience. As a beta, I know when someone is my fated mate by touch alone, and he had the touch my inner beta needed. Izuku mulls this over in her mind before saying slowly, so, I should have tea with Kaminari in order to know if he's my mate or not. Is that how I'm supposed to do it? Aizawa instantly snaps his head towards her and gives her a firm rejection. No. If you have SEC with Kaminari, there's a very, very high chance he will either be frozen to death or cremated alive. I'm not filling out the paperwork for that sheet, and besides, as an Omega, that's not the way you will find your mate. You are entirely different from a beta like myself on so many things, and this is the major one. Just because it was right for me does not mean it is right for everyone, especially you. Take things slow and figure out sheet for yourself first before even suggesting doing something so reckless. The green-haired teen nods, feeling less confused by it, but still, there's so much about being an Omega she doesn't know. Hopefully the specialist is of some help for her. He should be, shouldn't he? When All Might comes into the living room, he's dressed up nicely and greeting her with a, "You have an appointment with the Omega specialist today, Midoriya. You should get dressed, we have to be leaving soon." Izuku nods and hurries over to her room where she gets ready for the day. She comes out a good 30 minutes later with her hair in a half-up, half-down style. Her first outfit was her school uniform, until All Might made her change out of it because she's not going to school today, before she settled on the choice of a blue gingham sundress and white flats. All Might sighs as he takes her outside, hoping to the highest heavens that none of the kids who got suspended the day before sees her now. She looks so cute in her sundress. He can only imagine what those perverts would try to do her in his weak form. He takes her to the Omega specialist by taxi in what is a silent ride over. She's pretty tired from getting her PRD late in the night and having to wait for Aizawa to get her the pads. Once they arrive to the specialist's office, it's the first room on the first floor of a large dove gray building. Izuku is in the waiting room and already asking him, how did you know Aizawa is your mate? He is caught off guard by the question, causing her to explain, "You don't need to tell me how it happened. He already told me everything this morning. How did you know he was meant to be with you?" All Might ponders his response, but when he does have it, he words it to her as being, "We both knew our inner alpha and beta were only happy and complete when we were with each other. Still, we didn't talk much or live together officially until a few years ago. When we did start living together, it was pretty awkward because we didn't take the time to get to know each other. We were just friends with benefits for the longest time, despite being mates. Sure, we didn't cheat on each other, but we weren't close for the longest time. It took my inner alpha screaming at me nonstop to talk to him that I finally made the effort to get to know him." Izuku gives him a thoughtful glance as she asks, "Is that why you two call each other by your last names still?" "Partly because of that and partly out of habit. It's just how we addressed each other for so long, it kind of became a habit. We only call each other by our first names during our private moments together." "Ah. I don't want you to go through the same mating process I did," he says, so suddenly it catches her off guard. "I want you to be courted and get to know the alpha or beta beforehand. I don't want you to be living with someone who's nothing more than a stranger you have SEC with every once in a while. I want you to have a real bond, a real relationship, not the kind I had for so long. I want you to approach this better than I did, Midoriya. Izuku replies softly, her eyes filled with amazement at just how much her mentor really cares for her. Thank you, All Might. Don't mention it. The nurse arrives in the waiting room, saying, Midoriya Izuku, Dr. Nakamura is ready to see you now. She follows the Omega nurse down the carpeted hall over to an oak door where she enters a room no different from any other doctor's office. It kind of shocks her how normal it all looks. She thought it would be something entirely different given all the fuss made over getting her to an Omega specialist. She's alone in the room only for a few minutes before Dr. Nakamura is entering the room with a warm, gentle smile. Hello, Midoriya, I am Dr. Nakamura. I am a mated Omega and today I will be your specialist. Mind telling me why you are here today? Izuku begins things with a small question. How can I find my fated mate? I'm an anxious Omega and there's not many resources online or anywhere else telling me how to find my fated mate. The man with the amber eyes and deep red hair answers it politely. As an anxious Omega myself, I know your pain. I too struggled to find my fated mate, but I found the best way for us to find our fated mate is to court with betas and alphas who catch the eye of our inner Omega. She thinks it over and asks, how do I know if someone has caught the eye of my inner Omega? Simple. Your inner Omega will feel drawn to that person inexplicably. It's an easy process to endure, really. If you want, I can give you a portfolio book containing photos, profiles, and contact information of different alphas and betas. He offers to her and she accepts it because if Todoroki really does see her as a friend only. It's like what her dad said, take what you can get. Okay. As he goes over to the desk to get out the book from the top drawer, she blurts out to him, does it hurt to be knotted? The doctor answers this with relative ease. It doesn't really, an Omega's body is meant to handle a knot, no matter how large it is. What about my, she blushes while she asks because it's just too awkward to say out loud, during heat. Your energy before, during, and after a heat is all 100% normal. It's just a side effect of the Omega hormones in your system fluctuating during the time of your heat. Don't worry, it's a common question I get asked a lot, so it's no big deal for me to clear that up for you. She heaves a breath of relief, only to halt herself when asking, is it okay and normal if I think really, really pervy thoughts about someone during my heat, even if the person sees me as a friend only? Mr. Nakamura gives her a sympathetic gaze when he says, it's normal, Midoriya. Anxious Omegas like us can only be calmed down and achieve arousal by an alpha or beta with a strong calming pheromone. It doesn't have to come from a fated mate for it to work, it only has to come from someone strong. Oh, so there's a chance she got excited over Todoroki for nothing? This thought makes her inner Omega cry as she sighs in defeat. Thank you for clearing that up. She looks through the book and sees the photo of a beta boy her age with cotton candy pink hair cut short with a long side bang. He has these amazing cobalt blue eyes and a kind, braces lace smile. She feels her inner Omega look at him in some sort of interest. It's nowhere near as strong as her interest in Todoroki, but it's pretty strong nonetheless. She discovers he's pretty tall, he likes comic books, All Might is his favorite hero, and he has never dated or courted anyone before. His quirk is pretty interesting as well. Apparently, it's plant-based, though the profile doesn't state anything else otherwise. I like this one. Can I take his contact information home with me? Sure you can. Here you go. As she's handed the contact information, her inner Omega whines out of defeat. She reminds herself she doesn't have much options and that alone is enough to silence the Omega inside her begging her to not take it. She asks him one more question before taking her leave. Is it normal to get a PRD so soon after my first heat? The doctor looks at her peculiarly when he said, no, it's not. I hope you don't mind, but I need to be sure your hormones aren't out of whack. No, not at all. Being a doctor, his quirk is to do with something medical related. His quirk is a glowing hand that can perform any test of any sort on a person just by touching certain key areas. His hand glows bright red as he touches her wrist before moving over to her scent gland. It doesn't feel warm or cold when he does this, but it does feel kind of tingly. This little test is done the minute he pulls his hand away from her. His hand then turns from a bright red to a bright pink, making him wince out of worry. "Oh no. What is it?" she asks out of concern. "Your Herm levels are out of balance." Usually, a PRD comes before the heat in any female omega. Whenever this is done in reverse, it means a second heat is coming. This is done when the omega's body is not adjusted to either being an omega or when they cannot control their quirk. He explains to her with a small groan, "It's no big deal, but you will get another heat when your PRD is done." "How long are your PRDs?" She then feels it all hit her like a ton of bricks. One for all. She doesn't have total control over it yet. She's still working on it. Of course, this would mess with her body somehow. 3 days. Izuku answers, her eyes filled with the same fear that was present the day she presented as an omega. "When will my second heat happen?" "Right after your PRD ends. I will give you a list of facilities specialized in taking care of unmated omegas during their heats, and I will give you the number of a local omega girls group." Dr. Nakamura answers with a quick writing of everything down on a piece of paper. "Why do I need the number of a local omega girls group?" "It's more for emotional support than anything else. Surely you'd want some omegas to talk to about omega stuff instead of alphas and betas who simply cannot ever understand it." "Yeah, that'd be nice," she says with a small sigh as he hands her the papers with the numbers of the heat facilities, the Omega Girls group, and Beta Boys contact information. "Is that all you wanted to do today?" "Yes." "All right then, I'll come out to the waiting room with you to explain the situation to the alpha waiting for you." Dr. Nakamura escorts Izuku back out to the waiting room where he explains to All Might the situation at hand with her PRD. Needless to say, he instantly knew it was because of One for All and her still needing to learn how to control it better. He then shows him the portfolio, profile, and the contact information of the beta boy Izuku chose for herself. Upon first glance, All Might's first thoughts are, beta, nerdy, with what is most likely a lame quirk if he's too nervous to write it out in detail, weak, and non-threatening, unlike Todoroki. This is the vengeance he's been seeking. This will teach Todoroki to never hold Aizawa hostage in ice shackles ever again. Yeah, you can court him. I still want to meet him beforehand, but other than that, it's all good. Thank you. Izuku breathes out in relief as she hugs him, not seeing the evil glint in his eyes as he finally feels he has achieved his perfect revenge. Who knows, maybe this kid is her fated mate, and if he is, then Todoroki will have lost the war. This will teach him to never mess with Yagi Tashinori or his mate ever again. Izuku is sitting in a cafe with All Might, waiting for the beta boy he'd contacted to arrive with his mother. She is still stunned by what all the doctor had told her when she asked how she can fix the hormonal imbalance in her body. Even if you gain control of your quirk, it will take a good year or so for your hormones to be in balance again. My main suggestion as a quick fix is to get mated now so you won't have heats 2 times a month. She's glad All Might seemed to approve of the boy she'd picked out at the doctor's office, and she's more relieved to see him not making comments or remarks about his being a beta. Then she supposes since Aizawa is a beta he won't be like other alphas and make fun of them for the bad stereotypes associated with betas. She then hears the door to the cafe opening and sees the beta boy from the portfolio entering the building. All Might goes over to his mother, who, shockingly enough, has ash-brown hair, and introduces himself before leading them over to the table where Izuku is sitting at. Izuku smiles politely, greeting the boy with an upbeat, "Hello, I'm Midoriya Izuku, you must be Sakurada Ren." Ren is practically beaming at her at first sight, his voice showing his awe when he speaks. "Wow, you're the cutest omega ever." Thank you." Ren seems to notice her surprise and makes it clear to her, Oh no, please don't take it the wrong way. I'm not a pervert, I just think you're cute and I cannot wait to court you because you're just so cute." She finds him endearing with the way he seems to be interested in her right off the bat. She asks him in a quieter tone, how do you feel about possibly being mated with me in 3 days? Rin gives her an incredulous look when he answers, Yagi wasn't lying when he said you needed to be mated in 3 days? Fact of the matter is, All Might arranged this meeting while in the taxi with Izuku. He knows she only has 2 days before her next heat hits and he's not cruel enough to make her suffer through a long time of having 2 heats a month. Well, after today I only have 2 more days left before my second heat and I am hoping to be mated so I don't get heats twice a month. This, and if she wants to be a hero, it is imperative she has only 1 heat a month. If she has 2 heats a month that can occur randomly, it will make her too much of a risk to have on the battlefield, and Izuku is not giving up her dream because of her hormones being messed up. If being mated to Ren is what will fix it, then she will take it. Ren clears his throat, his own nervousness shining through as he stammers. I see. I never thought I'd be mated off so quickly, but for an Omega as cute as you, I'm willing to do it. Izuku decides to make things easier on the poor guy. He really is so adorable in real life with his clumsy ways. He's already spilled the glass of water on the table on his shirt, and those bright cobalt blue eyes. What is your quirk? I was wondering about that when I read your profile. Ren grins sheepishly as he claps his hands. When his hands part, a daisy chain appears and he ties the ends of it to make it into a necklace for Izuku. I make daisy chains whenever I clap my hands. They don't die, they are unbreakable, and I can make them in any color or length I desire. Izuku stares at the pink and blue-colored daisies in awe before her eyes light up in interest. Wow, that is so cute, Ren. I think your quirk is fascinating. The dumbfounded look he has on his face is purely from her complimenting his quirk. So many people in his life always mocked him for his quirk. Just to hear one compliment about it makes him freeze, but then he smiles, saying to her with a small blush on his face, "Thank you, that is the nicest thing anyone has ever said about my quirk." Izuku is about to say more when she is cut off by All Might telling them, "This is officially your first courting session. Once we are done eating here, you two will go to a movie together, but we will be keeping a close enough distance at all times to ensure there is no inappropriate behavior. Does this sound good to you, Ren?" Ren nods to this instantly, chuckling as he replies to him, "Oh, I was actually going to tell Izuku that's how I want our first courting to go. It's more of a proper, true courting then." "Great to hear it. What will you two be ordering to eat?" "Don't worry, it's all on me." Ren thinks it over for a minute before coming to his decision. "I will take a strawberry smoothie with a slice of spinach quiche." "Oh, I want a green tea with a spinach quiche. I've never had that before, so it'll be fun to try out." All Might leaves to go order their food, and Izuku notices at a table not too far from them, there is Ren's mother, reading a fantasy novel. She was about to ask Ren about it when the beta boy lets out the most unmanly shriek she'd ever heard in her life at what he sees on his phone. "Izuku, we need to go to the comic book store immediately after the movie. There's this new limited edition board game coming out today and I've been waiting for it for so long." The green-haired girl nods slowly, finding his enthusiasm over a board game to be rather intense and off-putting. "Okay, that works for me," she speaks slowly as he cheers. "Yes, I cannot wait to go there and get my hands on it." Maybe if she changes the subject it won't feel so awkward for her. Ren, you wanted a more traditional courtship, huh? "Oh, yeah, I did, because courting is too scary to do alone and I'm afraid I'll mess it up somehow." "I don't think you had anything to fear with that. You are a good guy and a cute one too." Ren blushes to this, eating his quiche so he won't say anything too embarrassing. He proceeds to show her photos of his stamp collection, his school, and his alpha friends. She does the same thing for him, showing him photos of her school, her All Might bedroom, and her alpha friends. He doesn't think the All Might bedroom is weird, he thinks it's surprisingly cute. It's nice to meet an Omega who's not intimidating. Her inner Omega is screaming at this because no, he will not do. This beta boy is nothing compared to Todoroki. Why is she wasting her time with this loser? She ignores the inner Omega, reminding herself with the harsh reality of it all, either get mated to him or give up on being a hero. She's not doing that. She worked too hard to quit now and she's not giving up. "Wait, you're going to UA? You're going to be a hero?" he asks her slowly out of his own disbelief when he looks at her photos more closely. Izuku nods, kind of stunned at the way he's acting about this. "Yes, I am going to UA. Why do you ask?" "It's just, isn't being a hero really scary? All of those creepy villains and their evil schemes, how on earth are you not afraid of it?" Izuku shrugs it off casually, telling him, "I looked up to All Might all of my life. I wanted to be a hero, Just like him. Saving people's lives and making the world a better place. That's what I wanted to do anyway. Sure, it can get scary, but if you just remember why you're there in the first place, it won't be as bad. Rin blinks his pretty eyes twice as he takes a long sip of his smoothie. He does reply to her after this with a response that leaves her inner Omega feeling so embarrassed right now. Yeah. I could never be a hero. I enjoy living too much, and besides, villains are so scary I couldn't ever face one without running away and crying my eyes out. Well, I guess it's not a life for anyone. Izuku replies with a small chuckle to make it feel less awkward for herself at the moment. She is saved by Ren's mother approaching their table with a calm, "Come on, lovebirds, we have to get going. The movie is going to start soon and we don't want to be late." "Yes, Mom." Ren answers cheerily, whereas Izuku is feeling relieved she got out of that conversation in one piece. They ride separate taxis to the theater. While they are inside the taxi, All Might is asking her, "Do you like him enough?" She does like him so far as a friend, she just wishes he weren't so cowardly. "I do, he's nice and all, but he's also pretty cowardly. It's something that makes my inner Omega hesitant to mate with him." All Might looks at her in concern while he asks her, "Do you still want to go through with this?" "You don't have to if you don't want to." "No, I'm fine with it, All Might. If I can help out others in my own school, then I can help out Rin too." She sounded so determined, it made All Might agree to keep the courtship going just for her sake. "All right, the courtship will continue on. Are you sure you want to mate with him?" She swallows down her inner Omega's doubt and makes it all so very clear to him. "I do, he's a cute, nice guy and not at all pervy or bad to me. He's a good guy underneath it all, he just needs to learn to be braver." "Whatever you say." All Might is not too sure if she can fix him, but then again, it's either him or Todoroki. No way in F is he allowing Todoroki to have a shot with her, so run it is then. Besides, Izuku can fix him. She's already done that with a few of the students in UA who had way more emotional baggage than Rin, so Rin shouldn't be a challenge at all. At the theater, Rin makes sure they get separate popcorn bags so their hands won't touch, and despite the fact they are sitting next to each other, Rin doesn't make any move at all to touch her or scent her. He just watches the movie the whole while. Izuku doesn't mind this, but her inner Omega is starting to wonder if he likes her at all or if he is only going for her because he's that desperate for an Omega. Despite being able to scent out her distress pheromones, Ren's response is to get tense and nervous right back, which makes things worse. She had to leave the movie early because of her distress, but Ren does apologize to her with a sincere gaze in his eyes after following her. "I'm so sorry, Izuku. I've never been by any Omegas before and I didn't know what to do. My inner beta just froze up. What should I do now to help you out? I'm not good at this sort of stuff and I'm very new to it, so please don't hate me for it." Izuku looks at him with such compassion right then because she has such genuine pity for the poor beta boy whose response to an Omega in distress is not to be horny, perverted, or cruel. It's just flat-out nervousness, and Izuku can understand how that feels because she's felt it herself so many times over in her own life. Rin doesn't need scolding or mocking. He needs advice and gentle guidance. Whenever an Omega is giving out a distress scent, it is best to release calming pheromones so they can calm down. It doesn't have to be a lot, just enough to get them settled down from their distress. He nods, trying to release out calming pheromones. It doesn't really calm her down, but she's willing to fake it so he won't feel bad about not being able to calm her down. "Thank you, Rin. You're a nice beta." "You're welcome, Izuku. You're a nice Omega." She grins bashfully, and she was thinking he was going to give her a kiss. He looked like he really wanted to anyway, but instead he exclaims, "Izuku, the comic book store is nearby. I can get the board game now, come on, let's go." Before he can do so, his mother and All Might are right there to check up on the two teens. His mother frowns at what all he said before smacking him upside the head. "Ren, that is so inappropriate. Apologize to Izuku this instance for trying to stuck her outside of mating." Rin doesn't even blink as he does so too. "I'm sorry, Izuku, I was acting inappropriately." "It's okay, Ren, you just got excited, that's all." To be blunt, seeing him actually take charge and do something made her feel attracted to him. Too bad it was only a fleeting moment. Surely she can fix this about him too. She's had to work with worse before, so maybe he won't be too hard. They do go down to the comic book store, which Izuku thinks is the coolest place ever, but then Rin had to let out that unmanly shriek over his board game. It was about math too. Really? A board game about math? It makes no sense to her. Who could actually enjoy that? And she felt so embarrassed. Maybe she can fix that too. He just needs positive reinforcement, that's all. Gentle guidance and advice can fix everything, can't it? She swallows down her many emotions on this to focus on the fact that he's cute and has the prettiest blue eyes she's ever seen on a person. Izuku finally gets to say goodbye to Ren, who doesn't hug or kiss her goodbye. No, he shakes her hand goodbye. Goodbye, Izuku. I had fun with you, and I hope you had fun too. Izuku blinks twice before looking at him oddly. He quickly clears his throat as he explains to her, I believe in saving kisses, hand-holding, and hugs until we are in the process of mating. My mom tried to tell me I should kiss you, hug you, and hold your hand, but I said, no way, that's too much for me and my Omega. I hope you don't mind. Izuku is stunned, but she returns the handshake anyway. It's okay, Ren, I can understand. You're just being a gentleman. His eyes light up while he nods. Thank you for noticing that. Not many people appreciate that about me. Yeah, well, I do. Goodbye, Ren, I can't wait to see you again. As All Might works out a plan for Ren to come to UA tomorrow to continue their courting, Izuku is left wondering how her friends will handle him and if they will be nice or not to the poor beta boy. Shudo is constantly asked by his father how the war with All Might is going. He tells him he is winning slowly but surely. It's not a good enough answer for the man who insists Shudo go all out. Shudo isn't at that point of desperation just yet, though. No, he's winning. All Might is trying to get him suspended by setting up strict Omega harassment rules, and yet all it did was eliminate his competition. He thought he was being sneaky too. How cute. Since Midoriya was not in class yesterday, he did not get to speak to her or see her, which was upsetting for him. Nonetheless, whether if she is present today or not, he will ask Aizawa for permission to court her. He knows Aizawa and All Might are mates, they aren't exactly subtle about it. He knows when it comes down to it, Aizawa is the one with the power in that relationship. Betas are most likely to weaponize SEC with alpha mates rather than omegas. He also knows since Aizawa had been held captive by him once before, he will be more likely to cave into his demands lest he be frozen in ice again. As he heads out the door, he is reading an interesting book his sister gave him the night before on anxious omegas like Midoriya. He had read through the first 2 chapters of it when the car stopped right outside UA and Shudo had to get himself mentally prepared to ask Aizawa for permission to court Midoriya. He felt his inner alpha exhale in relief at the scent of his fated mate in the building. As he begins to get closer to the heavenly scent of his Omega, he hears a commotion going on inside the classroom. Hi everyone, I'm Ren and I'm the one Yagi chose to court and mate Izuku. It's nice to meet you all. What? No. Surely this is a mistake. All Might choosing someone to court and mate Midoriya? How the hell is this happening right now? More accurately, why was he not chosen? He's the head of the pack. He's the strongest alpha in the whole DMN building. How dare All Might reject him for some random stranger to court and mate Midoriya instead? He swallows down his inner alpha's rage and enters the room quietly so as to not draw attention away from the new kid in the classroom. Already, he's standing there with his cotton candy pink hair and vivid cobalt eyes. How he wants to kill him for even sharing a seat with his mate. Luckily for him, Aizawa and Midoriya's friends don't look impressed with the pink-haired beta. Wait, beta? All Might picked a beta for Midoriya over him. This is the ultimate insult his inner alpha has ever suffered. He does his best to keep his inner alpha calm and not do anything to the beta. If he violates a courtship approved by All Might, he can get suspended from school over it due to the Omega harassment rules in place. Shudo is not stupid. He will not succumb to his inner alpha's blood-thirsty rage. He will keep calm and focused. Rin, the FNG weak beta trash, answers a question Uraraka had asked him. So Ren, what do you do on your free time? I play math board games and collect stamps. I got this one limited edition math board game yesterday from the comic book store when Izuku and I were courting. Midoriya's friends, the rest of the alphas, and Aizawa are all staring at him in disbelief. It's Mina who makes the first comment to this. Wait, in a place as awesome as a comic book store, you got all excited over a board game about math? Ren nods, acting like it's no big deal at all. Yes, who doesn't like doing complex equations for fun? The silence he has met with should have been enough of an answer for him. Aizawa is already slamming his forehead into his hands, the muttering underneath his breath being heard by all in the class when he speaks. Yagi, you are so effing dead for this. Aizawa already has a hard time getting a class of alphas to respect him. Why, oh why, would Yagi pick a boy who is every bad beta stereotype rolled into one person to court Midoriya? This almost feels like a direct insult to him, and the blonde alpha is so effing dead for this. He better not be weak and cowardly, or so help him, Yagi will be 6 feet under. What's your quirk? Uraraka questions him out of curiosity. Ren claps his hand and out comes a rainbow-colored daisy chain. I make daisy chains whenever I clap my hands. My daisy chains don't die, I can make them in any color or length I desire, and they are unbreakable. Aizawa is cursing Yagi mentally for this. A beta with a lame, useless quirk. What next? Will he be weak and cowardly too? Her friends blink twice out of shock as Uraraka says slowly, "Oh, that's cute. What is your courtship like? Have you two kissed yet?" Shudo feels himself about to set the room on fire to the question, but the answer takes him off of his guard. Oh no. I will only kiss her, hug her, and hold her hand when we are in the process of mating in a day from now. I wouldn't want to make her feel uncomfortable with inappropriate touching. The room cools down to this. So, this Ren is a weak, cowardly beta afraid to assert himself? Sounds great to him. He can easily surpass this loser without trying. He really is every bad beta stereotype rolled into one person. When he makes Midoriya a lilac daisy chain bracelet, he decides to try something out. It sits on fire. Ren shrieks, his cowardice showing through so blatantly as he drops the daisy chain almost instantly. Oh no, oh no, oh crap. Where is some water? They do manage to take a glass of Aizawa's water from his desk and throw it onto the fire, finding the daisy chain reduced to ash. Everyone, aside from Ren and Midoriya, turns around slowly in their desks to openly stare at Shudo in shock, but the head of the pack doesn't care. It did say in the book his sister gave him this morning that anxious omegas like shows of dominance. Apparently, shows of dominance are a sign of interest, or so the book claims. He hopes it works because he needs to make his intentions clear to Midoriya. He won't allow her to mate with anyone else, especially this pathetic excuse of a person. She's his mate, and he won't let anyone else get in the way of that. A show of dominance and superiority in strength are especially enjoyed by anxious omegas who are being courted by the wrong alpha or beta for them, or so the book claims. Shudo didn't know it, but when he did destroy the daisy chain, Izuku's inner omega was practically trying to override her self-control to run over to his side and let him just have her already. All she did was blush in response instead. Shudo got the message loud and clear. She liked it. Maybe later on during hero training he will really go all out and show off more than usual. He can't have her thinking he's a subpar alpha, after all. Especially since All Might picked such an awful beta for her. I'm sorry Izuku, I didn't know it would die from fire. It's weird though, because no other fire or attempts to cut the chain from others have worked in the past. I guess whoever burned it must be a super strong alpha or something. She blushes deeper to this and Shudo feels confident at the sight of it. He'll win this. It's okay, freak accidents happen, right? She says to try to soothe the other teen, but Shudo can tell his plan worked. After all, it's not violating a courtship if he burns a gift given to her by the beta loser by accident. Throughout the rest of the classes, he spends it quietly stalking down his prey, his inner alpha delighting in just how painfully beta this guy is. To his inner alpha, it is also obvious she is not into him, so why is she bothering with him? He does discover the reason why when her friends ask to speak to her alone in the hall during lunch. He hadn't only been following Ren after all. Mina is the first to be outspoken about it, harsh and to the point in her wording. Midoriya, you are settling for this loser. I swear if you mate with him, it will end badly. Tsuyu isn't any less harsh on this end. Mineta would be a better mate than this guy. I would have been a better mate than him, Deku. Uraraka tells her with a slightly frustrated look to her eyes. Midoriya looks to the ground almost in shame when she does speak. I know he's not the best, but he's a nice guy. He just needs someone there to make him braver and more assertive, that's all. Why are you wanting to mate so suddenly? You only presented as an Omega a week ago and just got out of your first heat. You don't have to get mated off so quickly, Karo. Tsuyu speaks with a concerned look in her gaze that leaves no room for arguments or lies. The green-haired girl sighs deeply, her eyes still trained on the ground. I had a meeting with the Omega specialist yesterday. I got my PRD and I found out at the specialist's office it's not normal for an Omega to get one after they presented and had a heat. I will be going through a second heat the day after tomorrow, and I will keep getting heats twice a month if I don't get mated off soon. All the girls are stunned into silence. Even Shuto is stunned into silence, but still, why settle for the beta loser? She does know he's the best and only option for her, right? Oh Deku, I am so sorry. I had no clue. Uraraka replies with a sympathetic tone and a hug. I know it's hard being an Omega hero, but heats twice a month. That would end your dream and you don't deserve that. Of all the people in this school, you're the one who is the most deserving of becoming a top hero. Midoriya sighs as she relaxes into her friend's hold. It's okay, Uraraka. At the doctor's office, they had a portfolio of different alphas and betas looking for Omega mates, and I chose him because he was the only one I had slight interest in. Still, you shouldn't be settling. If you aren't happy with who he is now, then you won't be happy with who he will be as a mate. You can't lead him on like that, it's unfair to the two of you. You need to end it now to spare him the heartbreak. Mina advises her with a gentle tone. Tsuyu agrees with her instantly. She's right. It's not fair to lead him on like this. You should tell him right away you aren't happy with the courtship, Karo. She nods, her eyes slightly watery. But who can I choose if I reject him? I don't know where Kaminari lives and I really don't want to mate with Kirishima. Kaminari? Did he just hear that correctly? No, he did, because Uraraka rolls her eyes in her response. I know you're desperate, but Kaminari? Really? Can't you, do better than that? What on earth would possess her to pick that idiot over him? He's the best alpha in the whole building, so why him? Looks like he may need to find out where he lives and destroy him before the stupid alpha agrees to mate her. Life on the line be dmed. Yes, Shuto may indeed kill him for real if he really does mate with her, or if anyone else besides himself does. He's not sure to which feel most insulted over, All Might approving of the beta or Midoriya, naturally falling back on Kaminari as some sort of backup. Kaminari is not a bad guy. He was super sweet during our courtship. Because he's a shameless flirt and closet pervert trying to get in your pants. Shuto's inner alpha snarls out bitterly. During my first heat and presentation as an Omega, he was the only one who helped me get out of the classroom in one piece. He was the only one willing to take me to the emergency heat room so I could calm down from the chaos of it all. He's a nice guy, really. Shuto swallows down the bile in his throat because had he been on time for classes that day, this wouldn't have happened. He would have frozen everyone in ice and taken Midoriya away from them all. He wouldn't have had to resort to pathetic measures like Ifeyi Kaminari did. Mina scoffs to this openly before laughing pretty hard. Oh, dear. Midoriya, no, he wasn't doing that out of the kindness of his heart. Emergency heat rooms are always used by alphas to have SEC with unmated Omegas. The guy is a closet pervert and a totally weird one too. Trust me, you do not want him as a mate. She gains a look of horror to her features. Tsuyu shrugs to this casually. He's a player, Midoriya. He uses the nice guy act to try to get with any Omega who will look his way, Karo. He's just as much of a horn dog as Mineta, but he's smart enough to hide it. Midoriya is still reeling from her personal horror as she asks, how do you know this? Does he talk like a shameless pervert when I'm not around? Uraraka breaks it to her slowly. He does, but hey, it's no big deal, right? I'm sure you can find a better alpha for you. What can I do? Kaminari was my only alpha option. I don't know who else to go to. She can come to him because he's her fated mate and not some alpha bimbo like Kaminari. I think Todoroki likes you. Mina says to her with a small wink thrown in there. I mean, who better than the head alpha of your pack, right? Midoriya blushes to this and his inner alpha feels somewhat appeased to this sight despite the many insults he's suffered so far today. I don't know, I think he only likes me as a friend. Besides, why would an amazing alpha like him go for someone like me? I'm not exactly, the kind of girl he would go for looks-wise. She is so freakishly wrong about this and he cannot believe she thinks he sees her as only a friend. Looks like he will have to step in himself and end this madness. Midoriya, can we talk? There's something urgent I need to tell you. He's settling this now because there's no way in hell she is mating with a loser beta like Ren or a pervert like Kaminari. No, she's his mate and he will be the only one to ever mark and claim her as his own. Her friends all left her alone to go back into the cafeteria, which means at the moment, she is face to face with Todoroki. Never before has she been more nervous in her entire life. She wasn't this nervous ever since she first presented as an Omega. He releases some calming pheromones and tells her as gently as he can, I'm not mad at you, Midoriya. I wanted to talk to you because I want to know why you think I view you as a friend and why you think I wouldn't be attracted to you. How did you know this? Izuku questions him right back with a raised brow. Todoroki is cautious with his wording when explaining to her, I followed you out here to figure out why you had chosen to court with the beta. Ah, she responds, which causes her to ask him, so, you know everything I told them then? I do, but I don't know why you think I view you as just a friend. Can you explain this to me? The boy with the dual-colored eyes asks her. She sighs when telling him her side of the story, you don't really have to lie to me about it. I know a majority of the class was only interested in me that day because it was the first time they had ever been by an Omega in heat and I know the scent of my heat probably had as much of an effect on you as it did to Kaminari. Then you said you only wanted to share a bed with me in a platonic way and my inner Omega totally misread your original intentions and I should stop now, sorry Todoroki. He's taken aback by the answer he's heard, but he does have his own case against such thoughts. I'm not lying to you about anything. I like you as more than a friend and I only said that about the bed thing to clear things up with you. I didn't want you viewing me in the same light as Mineta, that's all. Your inner Omega may have misread my original intentions, but Midoriya, I do like you as more than a friend. She's wide-eyed and speechless, but then she makes the mistake of speaking her mind too bluntly. Why? You can do so much better than me. You're a top-rate hero, the strongest alpha in the school, and the most handsome alpha around. You can get girls who look like Yaoyorozu, Uraraka, Mina, or Tsuyu. Why would you want someone who looks like me? What's so wrong with your looks? Before she can reply, the bell rings and Todoroki mentally groaned as he says to her, we can talk more after school, okay? Izuku agrees to this, her eyes on his own the whole while. That sounds great to me. I can cancel my plans with Ren and meet with you after school. I'd prefer it if you canceled the courtship, but I suppose this will have to work for now. Todoroki replies with a no-holds-barred bluntness which causes her to respond with a small, I suppose I can cancel it after school. Great, I'll see you then. I'll see you later, Todoroki. She's feeling a mixture of nervousness, excitement, and relief. At least he sees her as more than a friend. The only question is how will she answer his question? She hasn't even told her friends of her many insecurities concerning her looks. What if it all puts Todoroki off? There's no point in lying to the alpha, he'll be able to sense it out in her immediately, but how can she actually explain it to him when she hasn't done so to anyone else before? It's something that weighs pretty heavily on her mind while she goes through the day. Ren is such a nice beta, but she feels bad for him. It's so obvious he's not as brave or confident as the rest of her classes. It's so obvious he's trying his best to woo her and here she is, getting ready to end the courtship with him after school. It makes her feel so awful because really, the poor boy is a sweetheart. He's just not right for her. After school, she is outside and alone with Ren, unsure of how to break things to him. She's trying to stall for some time until Todoroki arrives, but so far, No such luck has happened yet. She bites her lower lip in a bit of hesitance, looking at Ren's confused face while she speaks. Ren, listen, you're a nice beta. You're so sweet and interesting, but I don't think it will work out between us. She's canceling the courtship. Not because she told Todoroki she would, but because he's just not right for her. Her inner Omega isn't happy with him, and she knows for fact Todoroki likes her as more than a friend. Why not take her chances with someone she likes over someone she only sees as friend material? Oh, it's okay, Izuku. After spending a day here at you, it's no offense to you, but I don't want to be mated to a hero. You guys go through way too many terrifying situations. I like living, thank you very much. Ren then tells her with a small smile, thank you for thinking my quirk is cool. Not many people think it is cool or even useful. I hope my fated mate is as nice to me about it as you were. Izuku smiles at him, placing a hand on his shoulder as she tells him, Ren, your quirk is useful. If you were a hero, you could trap your villains or wrap them up in the daisy chains to subdue them. I think you just need to be braver and more confident in yourself. Thanks, Izuku. Ren says with a small smile as he finally hugs her for the first time. Naturally, this moment did not last long. It wasn't because of Ren getting nervous. No, it was because of 3 hostile alpha males approaching them from behind Izuku. Hey, look, an Omega in a UA uniform. I didn't know they allowed Omegas to be heroes now. A taller, purple-haired teen says snidely as he grabs one of her wrists from behind her. The second alpha goes in on her. This one has bleached blonde hair, taking her free wrist with a sick gleam in his eyes that makes Ren shudder on the spot. Hey, it looks like she has no mark. What do you say we give her something to keep the creeps away? Let go of me. She screams as she begins to struggle. The third alpha is the most terrifying of all, tallest of them all and the most buff too. He brushes his long black hair out of his face and glares down Ren, his eyes shining with a sadistic joy to them. Hey look, she's with a beta. Are you courting her, beta? Ren doesn't even reply. He literally, no, he can't be. He literally turned around and ran away screaming. Ren, wait. Ren, I need your help. Ren. I'm sorry, Izuku, but I enjoy living, is the only reply she gets out of him as he makes a mad dash to his freedom. Suddenly, she doesn't feel bad about ending the courtship. He's a beta, doll face, what were you expecting from him? Everyone knows betas are weak, cowardly, useless fuckers with lame quirks that are of no use to anyone. Right as the man with the black hair says this, he is being caught up in a familiar capture weapon that had Izuku breathing a sigh of relief. Say that about betas again, Alpha BSTD. Aizawa growls at him as he beats the guy up in front of the 2 other alphas who are now trembling out of fear. Izuku notices their grip on her loosens when this happens, so she takes her chance to escape now while she still can. Aizawa makes quick work of the other 2 alphas who try to run from him, calling up the police afterwards in a bit of annoyance. Honestly, Ralphs, what entitled BS's. It's no wonder why Yagi is so weird about leaving her alone for too long with any of them. He asks her just to be nice. Are you okay? She gives him a small smile in response. Yeah, I'm fine. Why were you out here still? Didn't you and Ren have plans for after school? I ended the courtship with him because we weren't compatible. Izuku explains to him. He was about to leave, but these alphas came up from behind me and grabbed me. When he had the chance to do something to stop it, he ran away screaming. I don't know why he didn't at least try to help or get help. Aizawa frowns to this because that is such a bad stereotypical beta response to have. He wasn't any good for you then. As the beta, he is every bit as much of a dominant force as an alpha. He should have stood up for you and protected you during a time when he had to have known you couldn't use your quirk because of the Herm issues. Sadly enough, there are a lot of betas out there who would have acted like he did. Since Omegas became a minority, many betas simply took over their positions, but it came at a cost. Izuku looks at the disdainful eyes of a frustrated Aizawa, questioning him a little bit more on the issue while doing so. What happened? I know my mom acted more like an Omega than a beta in my parents' relationship, and they were both betas. I never knew some alphas viewed betas that way. Alphas usually hide their true views from betas because they know with Omegas being a minority, They have to play nice so they can get a mate. When betas started acting more like omegas, we lost our identity and alphas took all the power. We used to be seen as their equals, but now we're seen as lesser, weaker, useless omegas to them. Izuku can understand why this happened. Omegas are a minority in the population of not only Japan, but the world as a whole. As such, betas began taking on the role of an omega, but it did lead to alphas losing all respect for them and all the bad beta stereotypes being made. This being said, Izuku never believed the stereotypes and she always admired Aizawa for being the first ever beta hero. Even now as an omega, she still admires him and looks up to him because he was the game changer for people of other secondary genders to become heroes. He then comments to her, being the first omega hero won't be easy. You'll have to manage your heats, know your limits thoroughly, and always be on your highest guard. Villains RPE omegas to death at least 99% of the time when they are captured by them. With your being a hero, you'll be at a higher risk for that. They'll try to use heat-inducing drags on you and anything else they can find to make you vulnerable. Now, even upon hearing this, do you still really want to be a hero, Midoriya? Izuku doesn't waver for 1 second in her response. I want to be a hero no matter what they can do to me. I want to be the one saving people's lives. I want people to look at my smiling face and feel safe. You've got a hard road ahead of you, kid. Don't give up no matter what. I won't. She then remarks to him offhandedly, do you know why All Might is so protective over me? I don't mind it at all, really. I am grateful he is. It makes me feel loved and cared for in a weird way because my dad doesn't care about me at all and he always talks down to me whenever we do speak. Aizawa isn't holding back on anything here. He is going to be honest with her on this front because she deserves to know the full truth on it. Yagi is protective of anyone he loves and cares about. He would take 1,000 attacks for someone he loves and cares about. When I first debuted as a beta hero, no one took me seriously at all. Yagi never knew the full extent of it because I never told him, but after we were mated, he looked it up for himself and learned the hard way how alphas acted towards betas. He'd see videos online, read comments, blogs, and newspaper articles about alphas harassing betas and omegas. He would get so angry whenever he would hear his own fellow heroes insulting or making awful jokes and comments on betas. It made him feel disgusted with being an alpha for a while there. He can tell me whatever he wants, but I know the reason why he is so protective of you is because he cares about you and he doesn't want you to ever get hurt. Izuku feels pretty sad to hear he felt being disgusted with being an alpha for a while there, but she supposes she can understand why it would have happened. She can only imagine what it would be like to have a beta mate as an alpha, only to hear other alphas always talking down about them and see other alphas harassing them. She can see where it all plays in now. If she were in his shoes, she can't say she'd be able to react differently. Thank you for telling me this, Aizawa. Where is All Might anyway? Trying to finish some business. Fact of the matter is, when Aizawa confronted Yagi about the whole Rin incident after school, Todoroki had overheard a part of their conversation. Needless to say, the teen was set off and naturally the two warring alphas decided to go at it. Aizawa himself had been simmering in rage when he first approached Yagi and told him, Yagi, what the hell was that? Are you trying to insult me by having Midoriya court with that beta? Is this how you view betas, Yagi? Yagi's response had been to say, Aizawa, calm down, I didn't do it to insult you. I did it because he was the only one Midoriya liked out of the doctor's portfolio book and he was the perfect way to punish Todoroki for holding you captive in ice shackles. It hadn't appeased Aizawa in the slightest bit. Just the fact he felt the need to drag another person into this war was going far enough for him. Okay, fine, I can get that. But Dean, why didn't you tell me she needed to be mated? I only knew about her hormones and her second heat. If she's going to be living with us, you have to tell me these things. I'm sorry, I will be sure to tell you the next time. Whatever, let me contact Kaminari, I'm sure he'll want to mate with her. It was at this statement Aizawa had almost been frozen alive in ice while Todoroki seethed at him. Kaminari? Really? How dare you try to get my Omega mated off to that pervert bimbo? Wait, release him. He's not the one who challenged you to a war, correct? Besides, I've done the worst damage of all. I only allowed the beta to court with Midoriya to get even with you for trapping my mate in ice shackles last week. He was amazed Yagi even begged for his safety like that, considering he had been set off at him and ready, oh so ready, to beat him up for this. It took him by surprise, but then Todoroki freed him with a blast of his flames and turned to face All Might with darkened eyes. You're dead, All Might. Had Aizawa not gotten to midnight in time, the building would have been destroyed by the two alphas duking it out in the hallway. He then says to her, come on, let's go home. You'll have to wake up early tomorrow. The heat facility wants you in a day early so the alphas won't smell your preheat scent. Oh okay Aizawa. She has a feeling this heat will be the worst one yet. All Might and Todoroki were returned to their respective homes, however, their fighting came at a cost. They were both suspended from school for a week. Aizawa had predicted this would happen, but seeing as how Yagi had gone out of his way to make sure he wasn't harmed by Todoroki's attacks, he wouldn't go hard on the guy. His mate could have let him take the brunt end of his rage to save himself, but he didn't. This would have resulted in Todoroki being suspended for attacking a beta, but Yagi blew it by getting into the fight with him, thus ultimately ruining his goal of getting Todoroki suspended. On the morning of the final day of her PRD, Aizawa is the one who has to take her to the heat facility. He's not looking forward to it for so many reasons, but the main one being it's awkward as hell for him because he truly knows nothing about Omegas. Like, what is he supposed to do when he takes her there? Is he supposed to make small talk with her or just leave and let the heat facility nurses do their work? He's not sure, and to be blunt, he couldn't handle her going into heat the first time around. He doesn't think he could handle her going into heat randomly in public. If that were to happen, he's not sure how he could get her out of there in one piece. On the morning of her final PRD day, she's received a text from a strange number, the message claiming to be from Todoroki. She does the logical thing and asks to video chat with him, though she now wishes she had just called the number up herself. Well, she hopes her hair isn't too much of a rat's nest. Hello, she says when answering the video chat call. Hello and good morning, Midoriya. I'm sorry we didn't get to talk more yesterday. I got held up after school. Did you cancel the courtship with Ren? How on earth can he look so attractive at the crack of dawn? She's not sure. His hair looks like it was styled in the perfect bedhead manner and his voice is somewhat groggy, but it sounds husky to her more than anything else. She answers him with a yawn and a slight stretch of her body. I did. He was a nice beta, but he wasn't the right one for me. He appears to be relieved upon hearing this, his mismatched eyes now meeting hers fully. That's a relief to hear. I haven't forgotten what I wanted to ask you, by the way. Oh. Looks like she will be having a hard conversation first thing in the morning. I wanted to ask you what is wrong with your looks. I don't see anything bad about the way you look, so why would you? She clears her throat a little before nibbling on her lower lip slightly. Todoroki, I know I'm not attractive. Bakugo told me that so many times over the years, and when I did meet my dad in person for the first time ever, he told me he'd buy me a melon's job. I know an alpha like you wouldn't want someone who looks like me when you can have a girl with melons like Yaoyorozu's or hips like Uraraka's or both. It's just like what my dad said to me when I last spoke to him. I'm not that attractive. Alphas wants girls with big melons and big buttes and I don't have either. I'm just, as he put it down in person, a pole with a wig on it. When she meets his eyes in the video chat, there's a dark look to them that makes her feel nervous at first, but then he speaks. Don't believe a word those lowlives say about you and your looks. You're perfect just the way you are. Why would I want a girl with melons like Yaoyorozu's or hips like Uraraka's when I'm not into that? I like your looks as is because I like the sweet, innocent charm to them. I think your body is perfect as is and I wouldn't ever want you to change it for the world. The fact your own dad wants you to disgusts me to no end. Don't ever accept any offer to alter your body, Midoriya. Your body is perfect just the way it is. Izuku is stunned into silence at first, her eyes wide and mouth open slightly. Really? You actually think that? Yes, I do. I wouldn't lie to you about this, Midoriya. You would want to see me, in a bikini or less and not be repulsed by the sight? Of course I would like to see you naked. You are my Omega, after all. She blushes to this and smiles lightly out of her shock to the answer she's heard. That's a relief. At first I thought you wouldn't want me when you can have the bombshell bodygirls instead. I do want you for many reasons, Midoriya, but a major reason why I do is because I know you're my fated mate. How do you know I'm your fated mate? She asks him slowly because this is a bit much to take in so early in the morning. Todoroki gives her a smile, and though it's a small one, it stopped her heartbeat for a solid 3 seconds before he answers her. Alphas have a harder time finding our fated mates. We have to literally wait for any beta or omega to go into a rut or heat. The scent the beta or omega gives off during this time is what causes alphas to tell if the beta or omega is their fated mate. I knew when I entered the building the day of your heat that you are my mate because of the way my inner alpha screamed at me to mark you and make you mine. However, since omegas are a minority and not many alphas have been by them, they tend to act like our ruffian classmates around the first omega they are nearby in a heat. Since I was exposed to omegas through my sister and mother being omegas, I had a clearer head during your heat and I could tell you were my fated mate just by scent alone. She supposes she could ask All Might more about how this works, but for now she'll take Todoroki's word on it. Oh, I had no clue. Is that why you were so mad at Kaminari when he tried to take me to the emergency heat room? I honestly thought you were just being a good guy and a good friend. I had no clue you were serious when you called me your fated mate. Please don't be offended by this, but I thought you were only saying that because I was in heat and my pheromones were messing with you the same way it did to the rest of the class. Todoroki sighs as he admits it out loud. Yes, that is why I got so mad at him. It's also why I had Recovery Girl give you all of those gifts from me and the notes for class. I even asked her if you were okay, safe, and secure every time I saw her. Izuka didn't know it, but she had let out a small Omegan purr to this information when she responded to him. Todoroki, that is so sweet of you. Before anything else can be said, she suddenly remembers the question she wanted to ask in the beginning of their conversation. How did you get my number? Uraraka gave it to me. Okay, that's what I was wondering at first. Oh, and I hope you don't mind me asking, but who did you think of during your heat? If you say Kaminari, I will castrate the bimbo. She won't put it past him. Todoroki is not one to joke around about anything, and this is one of those things. He's not joking about, I'm really not comfortable saying. So, I have to go castrate Kaminari then. It was nice having this conversation with you, Midoriya. In order to save the blonde alpha, she blurted it out. No, don't do anything to him. I only thought about you the whole time. The mischievous look on his face that suddenly appears says it all. Really? In what ways did you think of me? I'd like to know. Oh, well, look at the time, I should really get going now. I still have to shower and get ready for the day, and All Might really won't like me speaking to you, so it's for the best if I go right now. Goodbye, Todoroki-kun. Wait, Midoriya. She ended the chat and ran off to the shower to get ready for the day. She's really not in the mood to tell him all the ways she thought of him during her first heat. Especially not with All Might and Aizawa not too far away from her room. After she gets dressed, she heads on over to the kitchen and gets herself a tiny bowl of fruit for breakfast because suddenly she's not feeling so hungry. She eats her 3 strawberries, 1 banana, and small pile of blueberries in peace. She begins to feel her inner Omega getting anxious over the idea of going to a heat facility. She doesn't like the idea of it, really, but to be the first Omega hero she needs to know how to do these things for herself. She needs to learn about heat facilities and how to use them. She also needs to learn about emergency heat rooms and where to locate them. Finally, she needs to learn about how to spot out when her heat is about to start and how to get to a safe spot where villains won't attack her. Aizawa told her all of this when they did get home because, as he said, it's not going to be easy. As an Omega hero, you will have to revolve your work schedule around your heats and you will have to constantly check your Herm levels to make sure they are in balance. Remember, Midoriya, if you want to be the first Omega hero, this will all become a major part of whether or not you can be in commission whenever you're needed to be. She's feeling itchy now. It's a strange sensation though, it's more of an, oh no. Is this how it feels the hours or day before a heat? No, oh no. It cannot be starting now. But. Suddenly there's a hand on her shoulder. Midoriya, calm down and breathe. You're not starting your heat. You're in a preheat phase. She looks behind her shoulder to see Aizawa standing there. Aizawa, what's a preheat phase? According to what I've read online, a preheat phase is the change in an omega's hormones the day or hours before their actual heat begins. We can still get you to the heat facility in time, but it won't be an easy ride because many alphas and betas will assume you're in heat even if you're not. She nods in response before asking him, can we stop by Todoroki's place? I really need some of his things to build a suitable nest. Aizawa still set off at Enji's little psycho for almost encasing him alive in solid diamond ice, which is why he answers her with a firm, no, we don't have time. If we wait too long, your actual heat could start and there's no way I'll be able to keep you safe in public. Oh, right, we should get going then. He leaves a note on the table for Yagi and gets her out the door. He doesn't really want to wait for too long. He doesn't take the metro because he refuses to leave her on a public space filled with alphas. Then there's the problems of riding a taxi. No way in if would he trust some alpha or beta driver to not try to pull anything sneaky. He uses his motorcycle because why not? It will get her there in one piece without any risk of perverts bothering her. He drives her over to an exclusive and high-end heat facility called Fleur's Place. It's not too far from the apartment, but again, he doesn't want to run the risk of alphas trying to jump her all at once. While he can concede they could have walked, he figures it is better to be safe than sorry. Alphas are dirty BSTRDS after all. Aizawa isn't really feeling ready when he leads her inside the facility, having already made an appointment for her to go in there the night previous, and says to her, don't worry about it from here on out. You'll be just fine here. It's a safe space with the highest and tightest security out there. If you want to call us to leave at any moment to go elsewhere, they will allow you to do so. They will even transport you there themselves to the other facility where you'd rather ride out your heat instead if you ask. Just remember to not be afraid to ask for anything, okay? I'll remember that, Aizawa. Thank you for telling me this and for taking me here. She then hugs him goodbye and says to him, I'll be fine here, you can go back home now and tell All Might I'm safe at the heat facility. Aizawa responds with a calm, all right, I'll leave you to it then. When he is gone, she is met with the sight of marble floors, white walls, and a modern style to the whole building. She approaches the lady at the front desk and says, hello, I'm Midoriya Izuku, I'm here for my heat. Oh yes, please wait on one of the chairs over there. A nurse will be in to lead you over to your room very shortly. Even the waiting chairs are luxurious and plush to sit on. It's not too long before a nurse appears in the room, asking, Midoriya Izuku? She approaches her and introduces herself, I'm Midoriya Izuku, will you take me to the heat room? Sure, let's come this way. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to press the nurse button on the phone in the room and ask away. We have ample material for nest making in the rooms and we have plenty of toys for you to use during this time as well, so feel free to use them as you please. If there is anything at all you need at any point during this time, hit the front desk button on the phone and they will be sure to have a maid bring you whatever it is you want. Right as they stop in front of room number 125, the nurse asks her, any questions you want to ask me? No, I'm good for now. Great. Enjoy the heat room and your heat. She gives her a room key before leaving her there to enter the room. When Izuku enters it, she finds the modern design has followed into the room, but the floors are wood, not marble. The walls are a powder blue. The bed is a California king bed with silk and satin dark blue covers with matching pillows. Then there's the large bathroom with marble flooring, silver accents, a large claw foot tub, and a large shower with silver acrylic wall paneling. Also finds a small kitchen area by the door and a closet there filled with SEC toys and artificial scents. Artificial scents are scents meant to mimic the scent of an alpha. She relaxes on the bed after looking around the room and finds herself pretty repulsed by the idea of using artificial scents. If she has to, then she has to, right? Especially since she has nothing of Todoroki's to cuddle with. It is also at this moment where she realizes she left her phone back at the apartment. So much for calling Todoroki and telling him where she's at. Hey, he can always ask All Might. She's sure All Might will tell him, won't he? All Might had woken up to a phone ringing somewhere in his home. He followed the sound to Midoriya's room where he would open the door and find the phone on the bed. He answered it without looking at the number, thinking it was Uraraka or Mina calling her up to see how she was doing. What he got instead was a male voice saying, "Midoriya, I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable when I asked you what thoughts you had of me during your heat. I want you to know I'm fine with whatever it is you did think of me, and that I've thought of you too after your heat. If you want, I can tell you all of the SXL thoughts I've had of you since your heat. I'll start with one of my milder thoughts of you, and you can tell me something milder you've thought of me during your heat." All Might snaps at this as he exclaims in conviction, "I knew it. You pervert! How dare you attempt to perform phone hissy on poor Midoriya during her preheat phase? This was your plan all along, wasn't it? Act like a nice and caring guy when all you are after is heat SEC with an Omega. What a disgusting to do to an Omega who trusts you." Todoroki isn't taking this well at all if the snarl he hears over the other line is an indicator of anything. I'm the bad one? Look who's answering her phone without her permission. By the way, I didn't even know she was in her preheat phase when we last spoke. She never told me of it. I'm answering it because it was left here in her room and I thought it was one of her friends calling, not the alpha pervert from class. No need to worry, Todoroki. You are most definitely banned from seeing her for life. Did I hear that right, All Might? Are you trying to ban me from my mate when she will need me most? All Might didn't notice or care about the lowered feral tone in Todoroki's voice. All he noticed and all he cared about was the fact this pervert is trying to take advantage of the poor Omega girl in his care. Had he noticed or cared, this would have led him into giving up his war with Todoroki and waving the white flag of surrender. However, this is All Might we are talking about here. He's reassured himself that Todoroki is not any more dangerous than any other villain he's faced over the years. In fact, he's convinced the teen is not a threat at all compared to the many villains he's taken on before. Which is why his natural response is to say, "Yes, I am. As her new father, I am the one who gets the final say on this issue, not you or anyone else other than Aizawa. Back down, All Might. Back down now and I might not go all out on you. Like I'm afraid of that. I've been holding back severely throughout this whole war. I had relied on using your pathetic attempts to get me suspended against you to eliminate others who might be interested in her, and it did work. However, now that she knows I like her as more than a friend and I've made my intention clear to have her as my mate, my inner alpha won't let me stop until I win this. Surrender now or else you will face my fullest wrath. I'd like to see you try, Todoroki. Fine then. Prepare for this war to end in my victory. No more holding back or playing nice with you. I'll see you soon, All Might." All Might hangs up the phone and rolls his blue eyes before going over to the living room. He does eventually find the note from Aizawa and heaves a sigh of relief. At least she won't be around when Todoroki decides to attack. It is a general rule during Alpha Wars to leave the Omega or Beta being fought over out of the war at all costs. This is meant to prevent Omega or Beta distress as well as to keep the Omega or Beta safe during a time of hostility and attacks. It's part of the reason why All Might and Todoroki have done all they could to prevent Izuku from knowing anything of their war. They don't want to distress her no matter what the costs. This is why All Might felt a sense of relief at knowing she won't be around for whenever Todoroki does decide to strike. As for Todoroki, the poor teen is being sprayed with water from a spray bottle as his sister scolds him. "Bad Shudo, you should have known better than to greet her like that. I only did it because I knew I made her uncomfortable last time and I wanted to make it better." Shudo admits to his sister, who simply sighs. "Shudo, since she is your fated mate and this is war with All Might, maybe you could try playing nice to him? You know, SCK up to him and get him to—" The growl she hears makes her stop all thought. "I'm not playing nice with the alpha who is trying to ban me from seeing her for life. What if he tries to pick out another Ren for her, or worse yet, go off of what Aizawa says and get her mated off to a pervert like Kaminari? Hell no, All Might brought this on himself. I'm ending this here. Midoriya is my fated mate and he won't keep me away from her forever." He then asks when he's calmed down a little bit, "What is a preheat phase for Omegas?" He said something about her being in a preheat phase when we spoke. She winces somewhat to this while defining it. Preheat is the hours or day before an Omega goes into heat. Preheat is usually a time where a female Omega's PRD ends and the heat is about to begin. It's not the most pleasant experience for me at least, but I don't know about her. You said this will be her second heat, correct? He nods and Fuyumi shivers at the thought of it. Oh crap, poor girl, this will be hell on her. To have two heats happening like so suddenly with so very little time apart. It won't be pleasant. What do you mean? Now he's worried. He wants to know if she's in danger of something and if he can do anything at all to get her out of it. Shuto, for unmated omegas to go through one heat is already hard enough on our bodies. Going through two heats in a row like she is, in such a short time PRD2, she'll be really sick afterwards if she's not mated. She'll also be in a lot of physical pain during this heat, so it won't be a pleasant experience at all. He instantly asks her with urgency in his voice, what can I do to prevent this from happening to her? Fuyumi gives him the solution to the problem with little hesitance. You will have to mate her. When an alpha mates with an omega going through a hormonal imbalance like this, it does help to reverse the imbalance in their bodies. Since you two are fated, this effect will be felt in only a few days versus a few months to a year if she mates with a random alpha. Shuto takes it upon himself to fix this problem now before it gets worse for poor Midoriya. His inner alpha cringes at the idea of her being sick all because he wasn't there to mate her. It's not the circumstance he wants or desires, but it's what has to be done. I will mate her then. Fuyumi, tell father I am going to break All Might. How do you plan on doing that? She asks in a mirthful curiosity. Allow me to write it out for you so you can bring it to him. He'll understand, I'm sure. This is my plan to win a war, after all. Once he's done writing the paper, Fuyumi looks it over before gasping and asking him, are you sure this isn't going a bit far? No. I'm being very mild given the circumstance at hand. Give him the paper and let him know why I won't be around for training for a few days. Shuto says her to casually as he gets on his phone and begins to look up a few things he will need. Fuyumi takes the paper to their father, who simply gloats in response, he will win this war yet. He hasn't even graduated UA and already my Shuto will surpass All Might. Tell him I approve of this response and his tactics. I will approve of him doing anything it takes to defeat him. Shuto does get the message from his father as he bides his time, waiting for Aizawa to get off of work. He knows the other man will be more reasonable than All Might is, but he supposes this is because Aizawa has no real reason to be mad at him. This is where he approached it all wrong. At the end of the UA school day, Todoroki had approached Aizawa right as he left the building to ask, more like command, him, will you please give these items of mine to Midoriya? I know she is in a preheat now and I know when she did have her first heat, she built her nest with items I had given her. It was simple things of his, really, another throw blanket, a few t-shirts, a hoodie, and a button-down she could wear if she pleased to do so. Aizawa, to be blunt, did not wish to see Todoroki first thing after school. After being almost encased alive in diamond tough ice the day prior to this moment and held captive in his own FANG classroom in ice shackles, he's not too keen on Todoroki. In fact, he's rather put off by the alpha and is not in the mood to deal with him. I'm sorry, but you two need a break. You are way too possessive, Todoroki. Besides, there's no proof you are her mate and if you really wanted me to listen, you wouldn't have tried to encase me alive in ice yesterday. Todoroki doesn't blink as he responds, oh, so you are another person to take down in my war with All Might then? What? No, I just think you two need a break. If you tell me where she is at right now, I will spare you from my wrath, Aizawa. Aizawa is more annoyed by the fact Todoroki is speaking as though he's not listening to him or taking him seriously. I will not tell you that. If you are not going to listen to me or act like you are listening to me, then I won't tell you. Todoroki tries to explain the situation to the ignorant beta who's being very irrational at the moment. Okay, I will tell you everything my Omega sister told me then. Midoriya is going to go through a second heat, which will be painful and leave her really sick if she's not mated. I will not allow Midoriya to become sick because I'm not there to mate her. Allow her to have these items of mine and tell me where she is at so she won't suffer the consequences of a second heat. Aizawa rolls his eyes to this in response. Who died and made your sister an Omega specialist? If this were true, I'm sure the specialist she saw would have told her so. To this, he feels pretty slighted. Is Aizawa really acting as though his sister doesn't know what she's talking about? He'll get it now. My father sent my sister to all the Omega classes and Omega Girls group meetings out there to make sure she would learn all about how to be a proper Omega and how to navigate Omega life. She's met many Omegas who have gone through different difficulties. Are you meaning to insinuate my sister doesn't know what she's talking about, Beta? If his voice is somewhat acidic in his response, it's only because Aizawa pushed him too far with his arrogance. Aizawa, however, won't take such disrespect from an alpha student of his. I'm not insinuating anything, I'm flat out saying your sister isn't an Omega specialist. I don't have to take her word at anything more than face value. Oh, if you think you can call me Beta, and I'll just tell you where Midoriya is, then you are out of luck, Alpha. Aizawa leaves Todoroki without another word being said to this, not knowing he has just thrown himself on Todoroki's war list for his final battle against All Might. This being said, Aizawa arrives home to Yagi without incident. Their night is rather dull, with Aizawa telling Yagi about his encounter with Todoroki. The kid is freaking nuts, Yagi. I understand why you don't want him to mate with her. Now you get it? Well, welcome to the club, Aizawa. I still have to choose someone to mate with her so she won't get heats twice a month. Aizawa interjects to this quickly, letting him know right now, hell no. You allowed Ren, the cowardly Beta, to court her. You know how he left her there with all of those alphas to save his own skin. No, you're not choosing for her. I am, and I'm going to pick a safe choice. Kaminari Denki. Yagi had heard of the Ren incident in a very angry voicemail from Aizawa before he was brought home last night. Needless to say, he was embarrassed by the whole thing and admitted he was wrong to Aizawa when he did come home. Aizawa's choice made no sense whatsoever to Yagi, regardless of how awful the whole Ren thing went down. Why Kaminari? Isn't he the closet pervert? Kaminari may be a closet pervert, but he's not a bad kid and he's a good, strong, reliable alpha. He'll treat her like gold and make sure she knows she's his queen. He's a nice kid underneath it all, you just have to give him a fair shot. Aizawa explains his choice to Yagi, who simply smirks in response before chuckling. What's so funny? It's just the way you describe this kid is the same way you described me to your Beta friends. Yagi then takes a breath to calm himself. Are you sure you're not just picking him because he's the only blonde alpha male in the class besides Bakugo? Hair color had nothing to do with my choice. All it came down to is the fact he has many qualities I find to be good for her. Aizawa insists, but then Yagi quotes him directly, and I quote from you when I first met your Beta friends. He may be an alpha, but he's not a bad guy. He's a good, strong, reliable alpha who treats me like gold and makes sure I know I am his king. He's a great guy underneath it all, just give him a fair shot. Shut it. So what if I want her to have a mate like you? You've been great to me for the years we have been together, and I wouldn't want anyone else other than you. I want Midoriya to have the same sort of strong, secure, and reliable mating that we have. Yagi smiles warmly to this as he pulls him in for a kiss. When he pulls away from him, he says with pride in his eyes, I'm glad I've made our relationship work out great for you. I wouldn't want anyone else other than you as well. Of course you wouldn't, it's not like you could find anyone else to tolerate all the spontaneous crap you pull constantly. After hearing all of this, Yagi decides maybe Kaminari wouldn't be so bad. Maybe Aizawa did choose wisely this time around. The crack of dawn. Aizawa and All Might are still asleep, the apartment is quiet and light is beginning to ever so slowly fill the apartment. Then there's the loud, heavy knocking on the door that arouses them from their slumber. A firm and commanding voice speaking after the knocking is finished. All Might, open this door right now or else I will come in there. Before they can even reply, there's ice covering the apartment and the sound of a door being kicked down. Aizawa is glaring at All Might from their spot in the bed they are trapped in, his eyes furious as he says, Yagi, why the hell does NG's little psychopath know where we live? The alpha looks to his obviously set-off Beta mate and defends himself with a quickly spoken, I never said a word of it to anyone, especially to him. I know Midoriya didn't either because she wouldn't betray me like this. They don't get to continue their lovely conversation because the door got kicked down while they were speaking. Just his luck, All Might could hear NG's little psychopath, as Aizawa called him, opening every door down the hall to find their bedroom. When he does reach their room, they are encased in ice from the collarbone down, and his eyes possess a certain level of resolve and seriousness that makes both heroes nervous to be in his sight for a moment there. Then Todoroki speaks, making it very, very clear to them. Surrender now, or so help me, this will become a daily occurrence. I am not my father, I won't try to kill you, but I will break you mentally with sleep deprivation and random sneak attacks. I am suspended for a week, remember? I can keep this up for as long as I please. Aizawa glares down All Might with such intense rage that if looks could kill, he'd be incinerated into ash right now. Yagi, end this. Aizawa snarls out to him, I made it very, very clear to you right when we got mated that I need only two things to be happy, sleep and section. You can deprive me of Z all you please, but take away my sleep and I will murder you. Aizawa, do we really need sleep? If he could move his arms, he'd be strangling All Might to this. Yagi, no, stop this now. I need sleep and a safe home to return to every day after being by dysfunctional kids all day long. I'm sure we can call up NG and he'll end this. All Might tries to reason with him, but then Todoroki gets out his phone and calls up his dear old dad. Trust me, my father gave me his blessing to do this. I'll call him up right now if you don't believe me. Do it then, because I highly doubt NG would actually allow this. Yagi, shut up. Don't provoke him. Todoroki has the phone on speaker as he holds it close to the couple, a victorious look in his eyes when NG answers the phone. Shudo, why are you calling? NG. Mind telling your son to release us from the ice prison he's trapped us in? All Might begins nicely, only to be met with NG's silence. Then a loud scoff follows this. Why would I tell him that? I told him to go all out in the beginning of this war and he's finally doing it. All Might is stunned, but he quickly recovers. You really did give him your blessing on this? Isn't this a bit much? Is this the sound of defeat, All Might? Have you finally admitted my son has surpassed and overpowered you as a man and an alpha? His voice is so smug and joyous. It makes Aizawa feel sick and set off all at once. Shut it, NG. Put a demon leash on your son, or so help me, I will make your life hell when I get out of this. NG's mocking tone is the next thing to be heard. Needing the beta to fight your battles for you, huh? How pathetic. Really, how much lower can you fall, All Might? Whatever, NG, just tell me if you really did okay this or not. All Might speaks out of exasperation more than anything else. I did, and I've approved his future plans as well. You're one sick BS, you know that? Aizawa tells him with a slight tremble in his voice, the cold starting to get to him. Says the losers. Shudo, I have to get going. Next time, call me when you win. Whatever. He hangs up the phone on his father and glares them down. So, still think you can win this, All Might? If you do, then I will move forward with my plan of sneak attacks and morning freezings. Aizawa's glare says it all, yet he still makes it clear anyway. So help me F-, if you continue this you will never get to have a C with me again so long as you live. That does it for All Might. He can live without sleep, but no alpha can survive without a sec life. He groans as the cold begins to make him feel numb and sore. You win, Todoroki. This war is officially over. Todoroki heaves a sigh of relief as he melts down the ice. It's great to see you have come to your senses. Now, where is Midoriya? I don't want her to be in terrible pain. Oh hell no, your victory comes with strings attached. Like I just let you mate her. No, we need to talk this out before anything else concerning Midoriya can be done. Aizawa groans but agrees nonetheless. He has a point. Even though I don't want to have this conversation so early in the morning, there are some concerns we need to speak about before we allow you to do anything with her. Todoroki has no problem with this, but then Aizawa notices his eyes aren't filled with the same feral rage that had been present throughout this whole war. He draws his own conclusions from this while Todoroki gives him his reply. I understand, I will be waiting for you in your dining room to talk about whatever concerns you may have. When he has gone out of the room and away from earshot, Aizawa tells All Might. He allows his inner alpha to take control of him too much. This is the first time in a long time I've seen him revert back to his normal self. Yagi, we need to talk to him about this. He can't just unleash his inner alpha for no apparent reason on his pack or on anyone else. It's not healthy for him or safe for anyone else. He will injure someone seriously someday or get them killed. How do we know Midoriya won't be a casualty of this? All Might agrees to this as well, his concern displayed blatantly on his face. His inner alpha is particularly brutal, verging on the point of being cruel. I want him to have some control over the inner beast inside him before he courts her, but I also want to make sure he understands what mating truly is and what it means. He's a kid still, and you know how they romanticize these things without thinking it through. I guess, I want him to understand how serious it is and why I did what I did. Aizawa nods, sighing as he says, I'm taking the first shower. You owe me as much after all the hell I went through this morning. Sure, go ahead. As they get ready for the day, Todoroki calls up his father and tells him now before he forgets, All Might surrendered. I won the war. You won? Shudo, this is the best news I've heard all day long. You already surpassed and overpowered him as a man and an alpha. Now all you need to do is surpass him as a hero and then. He zones out as his father drones on and on about surpassing All Might. It's something he's not interested in hearing, but he waits it out until he can say the scheduled, appropriately timed, I will, but I need to go now. They are going to give me Midoriya's location soon and I will need it if I want to mate her. Of course, Shudo. Go on and mate your Omega, you've earned it. He hangs up on his father and waits a while longer for either All Might or Aizawa to come out and speak to him. He had been thinking about what to say to Midoriya about this whole war business, but then he is cut out of his thoughts by Aizawa saying to him, It's nice to see the crazed alpha look in your eyes is gone. Todoroki shrugs as he looks out the window, his words simple despite the complex thoughts he is having at the moment. I suppose it wasn't my finest moment, but he was keeping me from my fated mate, so I had to do what I had to do. Aizawa doesn't seem to agree with this, if his suddenly harsh tone means anything. Todoroki, there is nothing wrong with unleashing your inner alpha to protect your mate, but there is something wrong with using it to the extent you did. You didn't have to punish Kaminari the way you did, you didn't have to humiliate Ren, or follow Midoriya around when she was with him. You didn't have to freeze your classmates half to death and attack me twice. You're only lucky Midoriya never witnessed it for herself. Todoroki meets his eyes, calm, but the inner alpha rage is starting to gleam through somewhat. I wouldn't have ever done that around her because I won't ever hurt her. You may say that now, but your alpha rage is honestly terrifying. I don't mind you being her fated mate if you really are, but I won't ever allow you two to mate until you get that inner alpha under control. Aizawa goes on to explain to him with a sigh, I get it. NG is your dad and he is a more brutal guy. He's the type of alpha that brutalizes his pack to keep them in line, and don't tell me he isn't because I've seen it happen in the past. Still, you shouldn't follow in his footsteps. Every pack member will fall out of line from time to time, that's just life, but you cannot keep responding with the same amount of brutality you've been doing as of late. What if Midoriya sees it? What if she decides to step in and gets harmed in the process? You know how she is, Todoroki. It's a very likely, plausible, and real situation that could happen if you're not careful. Todoroki thinks it over some and his mind does jump to that final scenario Aizawa mentioned. What if she had been there when he did put Kaminari back in line? What if she had tried to step in or stop him? It terrifies him to think he's picked up something of his father without even realizing it until now. It also leaves him feeling disgusted so thoroughly with himself to the point where he almost feels physically ill. He will learn how to control his inner alpha's rage, jealousy, and possessiveness better. He will not ever allow his inner alpha to make him into someone he doesn't ever desire to be. He will not ever allow any of the above to be the cause of Midoriya's pain. I will get it under control. I won't let my inner alpha turn me into my father. He speaks with such intense venom and spite in his voice, it catches Aizawa off guard. Then he sees the resolve in his eyes and exhales calmly, I know you can. You're a brilliant student and you will find a way to control your inner alpha. It will take time because you're still young, but once you get the hang of it, you will be the best one at controlling it. Just remember to not beat yourself up too much if you ever do let that control slip again. Everyone allows their instincts to override them from time to time. All that matters is acknowledging it is happening and stopping it from getting worse. Todoroki hums in agreement to this before telling him with the sincerest look in his eyes he's ever seen from the young alpha, "I'm deeply sorry for the way I have acted, Aizawa. I shouldn't have ever acted the way I did towards you or the rest of the class aside from Bakugo. I won't ever apologize for what I did to him because he deserved it." Aizawa cannot complain there. From what Yagi has told him, Bakugo really did deserve to be attacked twice, or more times, by Todoroki. Somebody needed to put the little sheet in his place. I don't think you were wrong there. With a pack member like Bakugo, harsh de-escalation and an iron fist is needed to ensure respect for leadership and peace in the pack. After this is said, All Might enters the room and gives Todoroki a calm question. "All right, Todoroki, did Aizawa give you hell for letting your inner alpha take control over you too much?" Todoroki nods slowly to this in response, surprised at the strange way he wants to start this conversation. "He did, and I am committed to not being a pack leader like my father. I won't ever let my inner alpha take over me that severely ever again for Midoriya's sake." Glad to hear it. She doesn't deserve to have an alpha who will snap at her in a fit of rage. A good alpha always does their best to control their most primal instincts. All Might says to him with a neutral tone, "I understand this, All Might. However, though I may have lost the war, I will not allow you to mate her." Todoroki is not too stunned by this, but All Might does tell him with a wearied eye, "Listen, I know you may be upset by this information, but I won't allow you to mate her. You both are too young and I don't think you two understand the full consequences of mating, fated mates, and what all it means. I will explain it to you because I don't want either of you to make a mistake here. Mating is permanent and nothing, not even a mark from a fated mate, can reverse it. You both need to be certain you are fated before any thought of mating can even take place. My only question for you now is this. Do you want to have this talk and get my blessing to court Midoriya, or do you want to leave now and never receive it?" Todoroki doesn't hesitate in his response, ready to have the talk that could either be painfully awkward for him to have or really interesting. "I want to have this talk with you. I believe it will be beneficial for any future relationship with Midoriya." "Very well then, let's begin."